When I was a child, I talked like a child. I thought like a child. I reasoned like a child. When I grew older, I set aside childish ways. Corinthians 13:11. In the distant future, mankind has spread into the stars and found it is not alone. Within the cluster of planets known as the Silrain Arc, many races strive for survival or supremacy. But throughout this array of planets, societies, and cultures, each has one thing in common: the crucibles. Scattered throughout the galaxy, each moon-sized structure contains a core of raw sorin, a form of mysterious energy used to power ships, cities, and sometimes the warping of the fabric of reality itself. Beings who can do this have been given a name: Espers. The power of God has been granted to God's children. It is a time of terror. It is a time of wonder. It is the time of Esper Genesis.
There is nothing better to get one's blood stirred and moving on a Friday night than some Esper Genesis theme music. What's going on, everybody? Welcome, Arvanauts. Welcome, everyone, to day 35 of Esper Genesis, the session that we are calling Viral Fallout. We are sponsored, as always, by the amazing people at Alligator Alley Entertainment, and you folks should give them all kinds of attention and credit and love and respect and, all that kind of stuff, because they are amazing. I am your host, Arvin Eleron. I will be GMing the incredible crew of Esper Genesis, which you're about to see directly for yourselves in just a moment. But before we get there, I do want to remind everybody about ways to support the stream. Thank you, Animus Maelstrom. I appreciate that. I'm very, very proud of that music, and wonderful music from Mr. Chrono Wolf, and wonderful video work, of course, by Mr. Kilobyte himself. I want to remind everybody about ways to support the stream. If you haven't done so already, please make sure to follow the channel. Please make sure, what's up, Von Ether? Please make sure to check out the YouTube channel with the exclamation point ArvTube, where you can see past broadcasts of this and many other streams. Exclamation point Discord, I was almost about to say Steam group, exclamation point ArvCord will get you over to the Discord channel where you can hang out with the Arvanauts in between streams. Exclamation point Arv tweets will get you over to my Twitter. We're trying to get the exclamation point tweet working again, because exclamation point tweet is because exclamation point tweet is what we hope to be able to do, so you can retweet the stream easily. But for right now, we're talking about. Sorry, I got like 5 messages at once, and I'm like, wait, what's going on? But this is for the Twitter. So if you go exclamation point /arv tweets, then you can head over and you can retweet this stream, which is always a good thing to do because it allows you to let other people know about what is going on here in addition to us. And that, of course, would always be very much appreciated. So exclamation point /arv tweets for that. And you can find out about all of that over on my website for the channel, which is arvineleron.com. As far as financial ways to support us, if you haven't done so already, please make sure to check out the merchandise area, exclamation point /arv shop, where we hope to be able to get some Esper Genesis merchandise up there pretty soon. But in the meantime, we have Infinity and Beyond, which is my D&D campaign, currently playing Curse of Strahd, and Adventures of Middle-earth relating stuff, which is currently with the amazing illustrations of Terry Toons. You can check that out, and that does support the stream. Also supporting the stream is the Patreon, currently sitting at 302, of which I get probably close to 170 or 180 because of fees and the like. So any support that you can give to that would be awesome, especially because we want to be able to do other things with the channel going forward that the Patreon would open up for us. I'd like to do another Talisman tournament. I'd like to do another Arvanaut Idol writing contest and so on. But to do that, the Patreon needs to be higher. So hopefully people can jump on board and support that because that is always helpful. And last but certainly not least, of course, that sub button. We are sitting right now at about 42 subs. So I'd love to see that continue to move upwards. Our overall goal by the end of the year is to try to get closer to 80 subs, which we've been close to at several times this year. So we've almost hit that number on several occasions, but we're hoping that people can jump on board and you can get those awesome custom sub badges like you see right there from Animus Maelstrom and Write, Teach, Play. And you can also get to use those custom sub emotes and things like that. Now, schedule-wise, we have got Esper Genesis going on tonight, and tomorrow I will be wrapping up the Neverwinter Nights Tyrants of the Moonsea, which will be just in time for the end of November, and then December is going to be a busy month. We will have the Orvocalist with a Christmas Carol, which we do every year. We will have new Masters of the Dungeon. We will have a class from Cat Rambo. We will have... Thank you very much, Von Ether, for the 7 months. Yes, more EG goodness. Thank you, Von Ether. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the resub. I appreciate that, sir. Thank you. I hope you were enjoying Neverwinter, by the way. I happen to know who this person is. So yes. So I would really, I guess I want to highlight that, the fact that we've got those things coming up in December. We will also have a couple of Esper Genesis sessions, about which more in a moment. We will have Adventures in Middle-earth sessions. We will have, of course, our Curse of Strahd sessions. I will also have my end of year, best of 2019, my games of the year that were my year, and also my games of the year overall. So that's what we've got going for that. So all of that. Hi. What's up? 1 second. Okay, sorry about that. Yes, and I think that was all I needed to mention was just about that schedule. So December looks to be a busy month. Now, 2 announcements I want to make, and then we'll get started because we have a lot to get through, and we're not going to go as late tonight because we're starting a little bit later. Hello, everyone. First of all, good to see you all. So a couple of announcements I want to make. First of all, one announcement I will save for when I actually introduce the Esper Genesis people because it is related to Esper Genesis, so I'll talk about that in a minute. The one other announcement that I want to make, and I want to wish everybody, by the way, in America a happy Thanksgiving. Any of my U.S. Visitors, I hope everyone had a lovely Thanksgiving. I will let you know that I'm having the rest of our apple pie is still left over from that, so that was very nice. So one announcement that I want to make just very quickly about Adventures of Middle-earth. I made this announcement on Twitter as well, but in case people missed this. Sadly, we heard an announcement, I believe it was yesterday or the day before at the latest, from Cubicle 7 that said that Cubicle 7 is no longer going to be doing the Adventures in Middle-earth or the One Ring license. They are going to be publishing through the first part of 2020, and then they're going to be done, which is a real shame. Apparently, there was some licensing problem that popped up between them and, I believe, Sophisticated Games, which is the board game company which has done some Lord of the Rings board games and also owns the rights to the RPG. They had subcontracted it to Cubicle 7, and Cubicle 7 has now decided that they're going to move away from that. That is a real shame because they were only about, I think, 6 weeks away or so from releasing the second edition of the One Ring. They were very close to releasing that. I, of course, play Adventures of Middle-earth on my channel, and so I was looking forward to the Gondor supplement and also the supplement, the Moria supplement, which was going to be this huge mega thing. But that is not going to happen. I have my own theories as to why all of this went down, but I won't bother to share them because it's all speculation and doesn't matter right now anyway. But the thing I want to mention is, as far as our campaign is concerned, although this means that Cubicle 7 will not be sponsoring us anymore because they're not going to be publishing it anymore, in reality, the campaign itself is not going to really have any much of an impact here because we are... we're forging ahead. I mean, we are in the end stages of the Wilderland Adventures now. We are in the second to last adventure, and the party is towards the end of that second to last adventure. So we have a few more months on Wilderland Adventures, and then we'll be done with that. But then I have plenty of high level stuff after that. I think this set of players wants to stay together and keep playing. I think chat likes them, the viewers like them. So it's not going to have any impact on us, with one exception. And that is, I will need everyone's help here to be able to continue to let people know that there is great tabletop work being done over on this channel. I am very proud of all my players, including the crew that you're about to meet in Esper Genesis. And so, and of course, we are very grateful that we're still sponsored by Alligator Alley Entertainment, which, as far as I know, is not going anywhere. So they're still with us, which is awesome. But it does mean that we're not going to have the sponsorship from Cubicle 7. So I really would appreciate it if people could spread the word about the shows, let people know that we are still doing Adventures of Middle-earth, that we're very excited to do it. Tolkien is my favorite author, had a huge influence on me as a writer myself. I obviously teach him too. So, this is not something that I'm going to abandon because this has happened. So we're going to continue. But I feel sorry for Cubicle 7, and I want to thank them for having supported us for as long as they have. And I wish them the best as they go on with Warhammer and the other stuff that they're going to do. But in the meantime, as far as Adventures of Middle-earth is going to continue, we will go on as normal. So I just wanted to let people know that. And then the last announcement that I want to make is next Friday, December 6th, the evening of December 6th, you will not want to miss the channel because next Friday, we will have a big announcement, which is going to be a big project that I'm involved in. It is going to be a project which will have corollary effects on the channel as well, but it's going to be a big thing for the channel and specifically for things involving me and publishing and products and stuff like that. So please stop by because it's really important, and I think you folks are going to be interested in it. So anyone within the sound of my voice, either on VOD or anywhere else, please let them know. All right, with that said, I have talked enough, so I'm going to unmute myself so the folks know that we are ready to go, and then I'm going to unmute them, and then I'm going to swing over there, dun, 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 to reveal a fine crew, 3 out of 4 of the crew right now, which is waiting for us. And before I introduce each of them, before I let them introduce themselves, actually, I will just mention quickly that you will see more of this crew because I'm pretty confident in saying that next Saturday, we will have an Esper Genesis session in which 3 of us at the least, and that will include one Mr. Carlos Hernandez and one Mr. Johnny Pittman and one Mr. myself. The 3 of us will be coming to you live from PAX Unplugged, where these gentlemen, it'll actually be the first time I think that Carlos and Johnny have ever met face to face. I have, of course, met each of them individually because I've done Esper Genesis sessions with them individually at different conferences. Zach, because he's a punk, is going to stay. No, I'm just kidding. Zach is not going to come out to this one. But he will be remoted in, and hopefully we can remote Kat in as well. But we'll be doing that live from PAX Unplugged next Saturday, so you will not want to miss the continuation of the Esper Genesis crew live with the power of ARVBox 2.0. So I wanted to make that announcement with all of them here. And now I will finally head over to a gentleman that I'm very glad to see is back with us in the fold today, and that, of course, is Mr. Johnny Pittman. Johnny, good to see you. How is life in the universe? I know you've been Mr. Travel of late, so how goes the travel as you spread the good word of yourself and gaming and stuff like that? How's things been?
Travel is crazy and hectic, and as I was just telling these gentlemen before we went live here, hopefully it's going to start, quieting down the second half of December, and then the New Year's hopefully just going to be travel for cons and games and all that kinds of stuff, and not so much day job stuff, because it's definitely taken its toll on me, and it's taking its toll on my ability to be available to stream and do fun stuff like this. But otherwise, things are good. Tuesday, I turned 45, so that's a milestone.
Happy birthday! Still got a 2-year lead on you. Still got a 2-year lead.
Definitely looking forward to
you have like a
Carlos next week.
4-year lead on me.
It's 45 is strange. I got to tell you. Anyways, Philadelphia next week. I'm looking forward to it. So PAX Unplugged is going to be a good fun time, and it's that's what's on the agenda. So that's me. Hi,
awesome, good
times. I'm Aramis, playing Ashenforge Melder.
Yes, and a newly, by the way, and level 6 Ashenforge Melder. And we didn't have a chance to talk about this, but when the adventure begins, I will have 2 things I have to do with you. I'm going to find out what powers and things you've decided to gather together as Aramis the Melder, and 2, you have a little shopping to do. But we'll talk about that when we get there, because they had a chance to do shopping.
Right. So apparently, I have not done the leveling up to level 6 because I wasn't on stream with you guys when we leveled. So I will be doing that right now.
Outstanding. I look forward to that. Normally, Kat Rambo would be with us. I know that Kat was with relatives because of the holidays, and there was a chance she wasn't going to be here. I'm hoping she'll be able to join us later, but it is possible that she won't be able to, which is too bad. But it is, we will soldier on without her. We will have her back next month. And in the meantime, she would normally be playing Petrosinis with a large hammer, and I'm sure that the hammer will be swung whether by proxy or by her this evening. So you should check out her work. Kat is awesome, and of course does as well, plays in my Hearts of Wulin campaign here on the channel, which just wrapped up season 1. I hope that we will have a season 2 in the future. And of course also does the Rambo Academy for Wayward Writers on Twitch here as well, which would be awesome. And moving right along to a gentleman who has just returned from the wilds of Florida and made it back, and demanded, basically told the jet, speed up, you got to hit 600 miles an hour because you got to get back. And he did. He made it back in plenty of time to be here. And that, of course, is Carlos Hernandez. Great pleasure, my friend. How are you, Carlos? How is life in the universe with you and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, everything's good. I was in Miami, Florida, and one of the things that I did this time that I'd never done before is I got deep into the Everglades. And the Everglades is just as weird as you think it's going to be, and so we did an airboat tour that was like 1 part unsafe to 2 parts freaking awesome, which is, I think, the exact right mix for an airboat tour.
Sure.
Like we were like Tokyo drifting down the sawgrass and over the water.
Nice.
And then we saw like 9 alligators just swimming all around us and stuff like that. And alligators, even none of them were like as big as the airboat or anything, but like they were getting like 5-6 feet long, and like even a smaller to medium sized alligator like that is freaking intimidating.
Yeah,
it is really cool. So, and my wife Claire, she held a baby gator, so now she's officially a Floridian. So we got that done.
This is of all of course incredible pandering just to sort of get the Alligator Alley people happy with it. The alligator branding.
You stole my thunder, man. I'm telling you, we were literally on Alligator Alley.
I love it.
We were literally on Alligator Alley. So like this is my thing. And so like this time it didn't work out, but like next time I'm in Florida, I'm having a drink with all the Alligator Alley folks, and we're gonna have a good time.
Dig it. That's really awesome. Also, thank you, Rock God, for the resub, dude. 20 months is amazing. Thanks, man. Good to see you. And that's awesome. I'm very glad to have you back, Carlos. And who are you playing? Not where, you're right here. Who
Right.
are you playing today?
So I am playing Ludicrous Sleepwell. He has other names as well, but he is Catman and a medic and a problem. And all those things will be coming to the fore today.
We'll see all the problems that exist.
Right.
Vandermeer says that his
What
hikes in
did
the
he
mangroves let me
What
tell
did you do?
Oh, wait, Johnny, just wait for it, man.
What did you do, Ray? What did you do? I tried to
Exactly.
think of the kindest possible thing I
Wait,
could
I'm
think
confused.
of. Mr. Stay Puft, what did you do? Oh, man. Vandermeer says his hikes in the mangroves inspired his novel Annihilation, Carlos. So
This is the thing that you can't really hike in the mangroves per se, because like you can hike on boardwalks next to the mangroves, but like we went, deep into the Everglades and like we went out on this boardwalk and part of it had been wiped out. And so like it kind of spun into this open body of water. And it was just like we could have walked in and talked to merfolk, but that was about it. Like,
wow.
Yeah, so it's like it's an amazing thing. I bought a book on the Everglades because of it, and super fascinating.
Nice.
It's one of the longest running rivers in the country because it's actually a river that starts at Lake Okeechobee and goes all the way down to the Keys.
Yeah,
but it's literally a river.
That's pretty wild. And of course, it's yet another thing that, of course, is being affected by climate change. So some of these are things that you need to see before they can sometimes be altered forever.
Oh yeah. I mean, the Everglades is going fucking away. Like it is going, and it's just a matter of when.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you got a chance to see it. That's very awesome, and welcome back. And moving right along, of course, we have the inimitable Zach Clay, who is back with us as well. It is good to see you, Zach. How is life in the universe with everything? How is Thanksgiving and all that kind of stuff? And who are you playing today?
Oh, Thanksgiving was absolutely great. My mom is our family's keeper of the family recipes. So we had our share of creamed corn and pumpkin bread and
Nice.
turkey from the winery that she works at. And it was just really nice, and seeing family and remembering things and being full for most of the day. I think also because it gets much darker earlier here in California, we're not used to it suddenly getting like pitch. The moon hasn't been out lately, and because of daylight, which one it is this time of year,
non-savings,
it is daylight non-savings or whatever it is. It's like pitch black at around 5:30, and it's just so weird to be out. And especially because we had eaten earlier in the day, we were all like, oh, I want to go to sleep, and we look at the clock and it was like 5:30. But so we had a very good, nice, lazy day. So here on Esper Genesis on the internet, I am playing Cosmoritis. I am a Bellare hunter. Bellare are these celestial weird star beings that wear mech suits, basically. And I'm a hunter, and I snipe things from a distance, and sometimes I make jokes, and sometimes they're funny. And that's basically it. And I got a grenade launcher last game, so let's go.
And he did.
What?
Yeah.
What?
I also got a grenade launcher.
Yeah.
What is this nonsense?
Oh, we've been through this. We sang the song. You remember? It shoots black holes.
It shoots black holes.
That's right.
Yeah. It's going to be good times. I wanted to mention very quickly the story about the how dark it gets. When I went to Norway for a conference many years ago, my wife was actually pregnant with our first child at this time, and so she spent much of the trip being nauseous, basically 24/7. But there was this weird experience of having it was the opposite. It would only get dark for about 3 to 4 hours, basically starting really late. So it would get dark around like midnight, and then about 3 a.m. it would get bright again. It was the weirdest experience. And they talked about it like, oh, you should, and thank God you weren't here the other time of the year when it's only like light 3 days of the year. And I was just like, man, that's the 3 hours of the day. I mean, and that I was like, that's So I can only imagine that it gets pretty crazy that time, but. But in any case, the darkness of space will be lit by the incredible qualities of these gentlemen as we talk a little bit about our recap from last time. So things have been happening, and this will be an important thing for Aramis, for one, to hear about what was happening to him. So let me fire up our music here and talk a little bit about what is happening with this. Also, programming note, we are starting later than normally we would, so we will only go for about a 2-hour session tonight. That's 12:30 a.m., and I think that's in the interest of everybody, including Carlos, who's probably exhausted. So we will be for 2 hours, but fear not, people, because we will try to get our 2 sessions in next month, and we have made good progress, actually, on this as we move into Esper Genesis Viral Fallout. So, in our last session, the crew of the Hyperlance had returned by hook or by crook to Pelseros, where they finally got the opportunity, before heading off on their next mission, which I will lay out in just a moment, had the chance to do some well-deserved shopping. While they had been gone, Abraxas had been doing what he could to take control of the station and to basically gather stuff that the rather corrupt forces that had commanded it before had been keeping. And so they found a lot of material of various types and varieties that they were able to assemble and offer at a significant discount to the crew. And specifically the way that worked is that the crew was given, I believe it was, 1 free item each, if I'm not mistaken, but you can correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I think that's right, Sleepwell and Kaz, yeah.
Yes.
So it was 1 free item, and then in addition to that, there was a discount that you could get on another item additionally, a decent-sized discount, basically, like your Black Friday discount. Think of this as the Black Friday of instead of getting a dishwasher, you're getting, a grenade launcher. And so the party went out and decided that they finally had a chance to get some shopping, and boy, did they go crazy about it. So each one of them got something which seemed very appropriate. Petra got this new heavy Centurion armor with a special insignia on it, which is not designed for stealth. It is very much designed for, here I am, please try to get through this, type of thing. Very Petra-y, I think I would say. Sleepwell ended up buying a special nanoweave suit, which responded very well to his body and sort of just in general felt really good, except that there was something weird about it that he noticed when he put it on. But Sleepwell being Sleepwell, he's like, it's probably fine because it looks cool. And
Sleepwell is well
cool.
acquainted with weird suits
Yes.
with extra abilities.
Exactly. And also,
Very
what's up,
on
Kevin
brand.
Guy? How you doing, man? So yeah, it was kind of crazy. So he is wearing that as well. And then Kaz ended up getting this vector grenade launcher, which is essentially a small black hole creator. And something which is he has a certain amount of limited ammunition that he can use. And it's not the kind of thing that you want to fire off like within a couple of feet of you. It's that sort of thing. This little
Unless
mini
you have
black,
a death wish.
just a tiny black hole. That's all. Small
Yep.
things. So that's what he ended up getting as well. Now, what we did not have a chance to do yet, and which Coven is quite right, we have to do. There are 2 things. One of them is that the Sleepwell is going to be introducing Aramis to somebody, but I'm going to wait on that because first I want to ask Aramis about the shopping that he's going to do, and then we'll let Sleepwell talk about this person he's going to introduce himself to, and then we will fast forward to the travel that they're taking as I explain the mission that they're on. So Aramis, I'll let you do your shopping, and I'll let Sleepwell introduce the person, and then I'll explain where you folks agreed to go during the last session. So
I wasn't prepared. I was leveling up. I wasn't prepared for item shopping. So let's look at this.
yes,
I don't
What
know.
would Aramis do?
Aramis would get drunk. That's the problem.
Just give me
He
one.
has a
Ooh,
well, so-
infinite flask.
an infinite flask would be great. I feel like because I don't know specifically about what I feel like he would get some sort of melee weapon to be able to.
okay. Yeah, because I should mention, I should have talked a little bit about that. So the basic explanation for this is you are basically standing in the bar that Abraxas used to run before he went on to bigger and better things,
Right.
and where he's basically sort of commandeered a bunch of this stuff that used to be, that is a kind of mishmash, like Pelseros itself, a mishmash from across the galaxy, of things that are valuable and powerful and most probably illegal and stolen in many cases, not by him, but by other people. And so basically you have a lot of equipment that's available to you within reason. So what I'm doing here is looking at the main guide here on page 135 of the Player's Handbook. The
Right,
core
what the
manual,
weapons,
I'm sorry,
yeah.
I beg your pardon. These melee weapons. So there are indeed melee weapons that you could get. Is there a particular kind of weapon, i.e. a laser sword or a glaive or a microfilament whip, or is there a particular thing? Because the things that they've been able to get here are frankly a little better than your standard item that you might see there. So yeah.
Yeah, so the thing is I'm not really sure what Aramis has, what's allowed for his requirements, because he does have a staff, and he is proficient in using a staff.
Okay.
But I'm not sure he's actually proficient in using it in a martial melee weapon of any kind. So
well, let's take a look then and see.
yeah,
Let me take a look at the class. Also, in answer to that question in Zoom, I don't entirely remember what it was about. So if you could
Wait a
give me,
minute, what am I
if you remember any of it, then I can probably remember the rest, but I don't recall. Because I'm not even sure if you told us. I think you said you were going to, and maybe I'm just misremembering terribly, but let's see. Okay, so yes, so Melder, blah 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 blah.
I technically don't have. Okay, the weapon proficiencies that I have are combat knife, throwing knives, collapsible staff,
metal baton, and
metal
pistol.
baton, and then
Okay.
light pistol.
So if you're looking at, so the question is, if you're looking at staff, because I think we can absolutely get you I think you can absolutely get you a staff that he's going to like, that you're going to like. So if you're looking for such a staff, Abraxas would bring out. It has to do with. Oh, yes, that's right. Okay. I think I remember. I will try to do my best when I get back to there, and if I'm wrong, then we'll work it out until we get there. So he will bring out a metal staff, which indeed looks as if it might be collapsible. Although it seems to be collapsible kind of in a weird way, because when he first takes it off of the rack, the weapon rack that he's got there, it seems to shimmer a little bit. And I don't mean shimmer in terms of energy. I mean, it almost seems for a moment like you're looking at something that seems rubberized or something. Like it seems like it's metal, but it doesn't act sort of like have the physical properties of a metal staff. And so he takes it and he hands it over to you, and he says, all right, try that on for size.
Aramis will kind of grab it and kind of like heft it and just kind of feel it in his hands. Now, he's never actually brought out his staff or used it
right
at any time, because he's got a collapsible staff that he carries on his side, but he's never brought it into combat. And so when he does, he kind of steps back and he kind of like motions, if there's anybody around, to kind of step back a little bit. And he just goes into this sort of disciplined routine of using the staff. And he'll swing it around, and he'll bring it around doing it two-handed, and then sometimes it'll come around in one hand and kind of come around the back and come into another. And it's just this like, it's motion blurred because it's just so fast, and he's so capable of using it. He just doesn't use it. And when he brings it back and into his two hands at the end of like this disciplined routine that he's doing, it feels perfectly balanced in his hands. And he looks at Abraxas and he says, "So, what's special about this besides the fact that it's a perfectly balanced staff?"
He smiles and he says, just the right kind of question. Why don't you spin it in front of you for a moment?
And so he'll take it and he'll start to twirl it just slowly at first, and begin to increase the speed.
As you do that, Aramis, you begin to hear a low hum. And it's a humming that almost sounds like a which is at first like, okay, it's just going through the air, but it's more than that. And the hum gets louder and louder and louder as you're sort of spinning it around. And then Abraxas, who has this big smile on his face as he's watching this, takes from his belt some kind of a baton. Looks like maybe just a metal baton. And without warning, he kind of jabs it at you. And so you're spinning this thing. And so first I have to ask whether you'll try to parry it.
Absolutely.
Okay. When you parry it, that hum all of a sudden goes, and there's this sound of almost as if the sound around you just goes, like stops for a second and then explodes outwards, and Abraxas is blown backwards a couple of feet. Now he seems to have been expecting this, so he kind of lands on his sort of one knee again with this big smile, but you can see as he picks up his baton is sort of shaking a little bit. He says, "That's part one of what makes that staff special." So what you have here is a sonic staff. It is a staff which is designed to do its normal, I think it's 1d6 bludgeoning is what it says for the staff.
1d6 bludgeoning, yeah.
But this does an additional 1d6 of sonic damage, and if you take a time to do what is called a full attack action, which means you don't move, it means you literally just prep, like you just like, you know, like that type of thing, right? Like you do nothing but get ready to prepare, and you bring it down. Not only does it do that additional damage that I just mentioned, but the person in question then has to do a saving throw, and it is I believe it is Constitution saving throw, or they will be stunned for a round when you hit them. So it's basically like a boom. And this, incidentally, will affect constructs as well as just organics. It will affect organics and synthetics. It will not affect large creatures. It will affect small and medium creatures. It'll still do damage, the same damage on large creatures, but it won't stun them in this way. But if you've got anyone, construct or not, medium or less, you will be able to do this if you take that full action. Now, to be clear, a full action also means that you can't, you can't if you couldn't flank someone else with this, or full action means you're devoting your whole time to basically building up the sort of setup of this to do it. And so he says, but there's one other neat thing about this too. He says, so hold it just in the middle, straight out in front of you, horizontal to the ground.
Okay, and he presents it out like that.
Okay, and he says, now, take it and throw it to the ground, but don't let go. Act as if you're going to throw it right at the ground. So basically, click type of thing.
Right. Slam it towards the ground.
So when you do that, I should have said before that, I'm going to use my fork for this. So the middle, basically like this, right? It's delicious apple pie, by the way. So like this. When you do this, the two
it creates
ends,
apple pie.
It creates apple pie, which is delicious. No, that would be overpowered. It flips downwards along your hand. And now you're thinking to yourself, this is collapsible, but that's actually not what it is. When it does this, the things flips down, and these two very strong looking, almost sort of nylon mesh threads, or really ropes, honestly, hold it together. And you realize that you are now holding a pair of what are obviously nunchucks that are just like type of thing, right?
Aramis
that
Lee.
you can do. And the thing about this, now you have not normally had experience of doing this, of using these, except this feels to you as balanced as it does when you are using a staff. And he says, there's 2 nanogyros in each end of that thing. We'll keep it perfectly balanced as you're using it. Means you can act like one of those martial arts heroes I hear everyone back on Earth cares about. You're going back there anyway. You might as well do as the Romans do. And he kind of laughs. So the nunchucks as well will do similar damage. Now, they will not do the bludgeoning thing that I mentioned before. They will not do, the sonic damage that I mentioned before in this form. However, they are a very fast weapon, and so if you are using these nunchucks under normal circumstances, it means that if you use these nunchucks, you will basically, as you're using them, have the opportunity to get an attack of opportunity against someone the first time you attack them. So basically, when you walk up to them the first time, they won't have a chance to respond before you're like, type of thing. So it doesn't do as much damage, but you will get your first hit off on them. You can then, if you wish, it takes a round to do this, go, and the nunchucks flip back up, and then it creates a staff, and you can do this as many times as you want back and forth, but every time you switch it, it's a round to switch from staff to nunchuck and back again.
Okay.
And he says, "How's that for a melee weapon?" And he kind of grins.
Aramis kind of grabs both ends, holds it straight out like this, just kind of like, and he just gets this big shit-eating grin. And he says, "I have some movies to watch. Thank you." And he just puts it back together and then collapses it, and then slowly pulls out the old staff and kind of looks at it and kind of slides it into his pack as he slides the new one into his holstered slot for his staff.
And he says, "Good. May you hit the right heads with that one." And he kind of grins. And then he says, "Now, you're also welcome to get anything else you like at a discount here, assuming that you have it within reason." Now, for this, I don't actually remember how much cubal that you guys have.
It was 500.
It was 500 each or total? Was it
Each.
500? Okay, so you have 500 cubal to play with, Aramis. From which you can get equipment from there. So if you wanted to get, some of it will be discounted. Now, he does not have everything, so if you ask me for something, it may be that the answer will be no, it depends. But he has a number of things that you see on that list. So there's, there is crowbar and explosive charge and a cable rope and a sleeping bag, a storage crate, things like this. There's a bunch of stuff like that is around. Theoretically, you could also try to upgrade your armor if you wish. There is, for example, I think you're probably proficient in light armor. I don't know if you're proficient in medium, but for light armor,
not according to the book, I'm proficient in no armor at all, actually.
Okay, all right, then fair enough.
It does me no good whatsoever.
Right, okay, that's right. So then, so then you have this other equipment which you could pick up, which again is a lot of sort of general, tools and equipment and things like that you have.
All right. Can I get a little bit of time to get back to you on that specifically,
Sure.
and we can navigate that?
Absolutely, you may. Are you able to do you have any other powers that you can tell me about that your person has leveled into that have you figured out yet?
Let's see. Give me just 1 second while I do that. And it is, so because of the defender Melder discipline, at level 6 I get focused targeting. At level 6 you can focus the energies of your combat talents. Whenever you use a talent that deals acid, cold, fire, force, or lightning damage, you can spend 3 talent points and gain one of the following benefits. You get an advantage on channeling attack rolls for that talent. You can give one target of the power disadvantage on its first saving throw made against that target's effect.
Yeah, I love this. So it gives you basically a better chance to hit with these things. And you're like, no, you will not defend against it. Go F yourself, basically.
Exactly.
Is how this works. Yeah. I dig it. That's good stuff. So, okay, cool. All right. I will allow you to figure out the rest of it as we go along here. But so if I'm wrong about this, Carlos, I apologize. I think the thing that you mentioned about Spindra, I think Aramis probably did not actually see this happen, or if he did, then I will explain. Oh my god, a 24-month sub and then a 14-month sub. Thank you so much, Brahms, for the 24 months at Tier 1. Oh my god, 2 years. Super good. Thank you so much. Of course, Brahms is one of the first, one of the founders, so you get that nice little first badge. Thanks, Brahms. I appreciate it, man. Thank you, man. So I believe that it was talking about your... Okay,
my buddies?
I'm sorry, say again?
My buddies?
Yes, your buddies. Yeah. That's who you wanted to introduce it to. I will say very quickly, Aramis, that at the there was a very, not very the dismount between Sleepwell and Spindra was not a good one. Sleepwell essentially accused Spindra of having attempted to abandon them again. He felt like this is the second time that she tried to do that. And Spindra was like, look, we didn't have much time. I had to save everyone else. And basically Sleepwell didn't want to hear it. And so basically is just like kind of swore her off completely. She is not going to be going on the trip with you to Earth. But nonetheless, this is sort of the way what you saw happen right beforehand. The good news, though, is that Sleepwell has managed to do some of his own work and so forth. And so this is who he was going to introduce you to. Now I remember exactly what it was. So yes, it is your buddies, but specifically Aramis's buddy, right? So to speak.
Exactly. So, here we are standing around. And as I enter into this area, you notice that I have 4 companions with me. There is another Valma-looking creature right next to me that looks actually extremely like me, maybe a little smaller, and maybe the details aren't perfectly, but like a not bad simulacrum of Sleepwell. And you notice that Petra has a slightly smaller simulacrum of her as well. Kaz has his. Are you gendered, Kaz? I keep forgetting. Do you go by?
He goes by he. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So Kaz has a sort of like mini Starman, and walking up to you and kind of just like looking at you and taking out a faux flask that has nothing inside of it. He just kind of looks up at you, takes a fake drink, and it's kind of a mini you staring at you right now.
Sleepwell, what did you do?
You are going to love this, Aramis.
Am I?
And I can create constructs now, and to honor you and to thank you for your role in saving me, I have created this construct to be basically an homage to you. And now when we go into battle, we'll have all of this extra support. And thanks, buddy.
You did this to thank me.
Absolutely. I mean, it looks pretty much just like you, right?
He's a little short for us. Well, yeah, that's the reference that I just won't use. How much is he sentient?
They can follow orders. So, hey, do your best Aramis impression. The thing takes out its flask again and takes another drink.
Does it speak?
Let's ask it. Do you speak? Actually, I don't know, Greg. Do these quick construct things speak?
I would say probably not. What it would do is probably its best approximation. So you ask it to speak, and it's like, Merc. Like it's pretty much what it doesn't. Yeah.
So it says Merc, and I said, "Hey, it sounds just like you."
It only knows how to say the word sleep well in a disapproving tone.
It only says, "What did you do? What did you do? Sleepwell, what did you do?"
No, and I say like, no, this is going to be a godsend. Like sometimes, like if we need diversions, we can send them off on cameras. It's going to look just like us. It's going to be great. I'm going to keep us safe from where we're headed into, dangerous waters now. So this will help. Anyway,
I have two questions. Maybe more, but two feels like the right number right now. Number one, is he persistent or will he go away eventually?
So as long as I rejuvenate him every 24 hours, he'll be A-okay.
And if he goes away, are you going to create a new one?
Well, of course. I'm not going to stop honoring you. Thank you.
All right, I have one more question. I'm sorry. Will he just follow your orders, or will he follow my orders?
Well,
Is he?
he'll follow your orders as long as you run them through me. I think he'll only really listen to me being the creator and all. I'll work on that though. That would be kind of cool if maybe they could follow the person's order that they look like. That would be cool. I think they'll only follow. Let me get back to you on that. I'll do some research.
All right, that's fantastic, buddy. All right. Now this is the last final question. I promise I'm not going to bore you. I appreciate what you did here, Sleepwell. Thank you. Did you make one for Alfred?
No, I can only have 4 running at a time right now, so I really wanted to, but well, my real hope is that we'll just get Alfred up and running again pretty soon, but yeah, no Alfred yet. You can kind of sleep well. That really, reminded him of worse times.
All right, buddy. I'm saying this with all humility and I appreciate what you've done here. It's not necessarily what I would want, but I do appreciate it. It's okay if you want to make Alfred instead.
Oh no,
have Alfred help you build Alfred back.
That's nice, man. But this is to honor you. Like I really feel like, we had a tough go there, and the team really came through, except for Frelin Spindra. And he kind of gets himself under control. It's just like, no, you all are my team. You all, this Aramis will always exist. This I vow.
Well, listen, I really appreciate what you're doing here. This is, like I said, it's not what I asked for. I appreciate what you're trying to do. You're all about permission and checking in and verifying and looking for, that I'm okay with this, or anybody is okay with this. You proved this with Alfred as well. You always asked his permission. You didn't ask my permission to do this. My thing is, and this is very simple, there's only one of me, and there shouldn't be any other, even if it's a copy.
But I mean, it's like a work of art. Like, if I painted you to thank you.
And it's lovely, but it's something that's more than just a piece that I can look at. It's something that is a stark reminder of who I am and the things that I've done. I have to see that person in the mirror every time I look. It is your choice to make this. Like I said, I appreciate what you're doing.
I get it. I was just trying.
You did amazing. You did amazing. Look, I understand.
No, it's okay. It's okay. Come on, Aramis.
Alfred deserves your honor. Aramis does not.
Yeah.
Thank you, though.
So at this point, I'll walk out with the entourage. They'll all kind of follow me out.
Entourage.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So now we get to talk a little bit about where exactly everyone was setting up to go. Yeah, I know. It was good stuff. Where people were setting up to go. And to summarize, Aramis, what you were told by both Abraxas and by Aricia, you remember your good friends Aricia and Abraxas, who spend most of their time fighting each other, they have come together for long enough to be able to discuss a significant danger that they foresee. The information that they gathered from the Hespera station was that the long winter exists, has been stopped for the moment, but was not completely stopped elsewhere. Again, Aricia basically felt that there was information that the Zephyr Core had that was that sort of was not clear in terms of. She wasn't sure if anyone at Zephyr Core, if all the people at Zephyr Core even knew what was going on at this particular station. And there is apparently a rogue group, some kind of a rogue group, which is a splinter group or previously worked for or is dealing with some secret funding that no one has any details of, but in any case, of Zephyr Core, that is found in this one particular area of a planet that I will describe in just a moment. And that planet, at the moment, happens to be the source of a signal which has been picked up and is pulsing basically throughout the galaxy. And the analysis of the signature of this is that it is sending out something which looks very similar to the code that was sent back that you discovered at the Hespera station. In other words, it seems as if whatever was developed on the Hespera station is now attempting to be spread to the galaxy, probably using ships and devices like the Hyperlance and the Alfreds to be able to spread the Long Winter to the entire Silrain arc. I don't think I need to explain in great detail why this would be really bad. You just went in through an entire space station that was held onto by this psychotic nanovirus, and now this thing threatens the entire Silrain arc. And of course, you folks already have problems with the Zephyr Core, with the Shadow Technocracy, which may be tied into this, because again, it's not clear as if even the sort of legitimate parts of Zephyr Core know about this illegitimate thing that Zephyr Core was somehow at some point funding, but now, according to Aricia anyway, they're not doing anymore. That's why Zephyr Core themselves sent a whole Matakai war party, as you know, to try to basically clean up the station, because something had gone very badly wrong there. And so the left hand may not know exactly what the right hand is doing. And so Abraxas and Aricia have both asked you to return to the source of this signal to try to figure out what is happening, to get back or stop this signal from going out, and determine who is behind sending it out in the first place. This signal is coming from a place known as Sector 77. Sector 77, which is found on the planet known as Sol, or as we describe it, in the galaxy of Sol, as we would describe it, Earth. And to describe very briefly what they explain to you, you are familiar a little bit with Sector 77, in that a long time ago, Sector 77 was basically this area that was underneath what we now know as Central Park. It was a residential and industrial district that was situated hundreds of meters below it. And there were research laboratories there in several places, including research laboratories from Zephyr Corporation. But about 20 years ago, this deep earth drilling caused a massive tremor to hit the sector, tearing it in two. There was massive damage that resulted, and highly contagious bioengineered viruses and things that were never meant to see the light of day escaped. And so the city put a strict quarantine in place, and those remaining in Sector 77 were left to fend for themselves. The basic details of the virus basically proved to be short-lived, but municipal authorities never lifted the quarantine because, frankly, they thought it was going to take too much money and too much time and be too difficult to actually clean it all up. Access to the sector, though, became loosened up, and so Sector 77 then became a favored destination for those seeking escape from the law. And so now what you have in Sector 77 is where a lot of kind of black marketeers, criminals, gangs, and probably some bizarro mutants too, kind of wander around this sector, which again has been essentially abandoned by any legitimate property for the last 20 years or so. And the information that they have, and it's very limited information, is that the person who runs a lot of the area in Sector 77 and who may have access, he's the best person to have it if anybody does, is this guy whose name is General Blatt. General Blatt they know very little about him, except that he supposedly has some power over some of the gangs that run in Sector 77. And basically, if anything goes on in that sector, he either is involved with it directly or he knows who is involved with it directly. And so they have asked you all to go to Sector 77, find this General Blatt, find this pulse emitter thing, and either destroy it and hopefully find out who's behind it so that you can put this long winter thing to bed and find out who is trying to spread this across the Silrain Arc. So that is basically the summary of what we talked about last session, and why you were all about to get on the Hyperlance to head out to Earth. The last thing I want to mention is there was a suggestion made by, I believe it was Sleepwell, about why you couldn't do a big sort of army, just like attack with like a, overwhelming force. And the reason there is that Zephyr Corporation has numbers of sort of installations all over the place, as does the Shadow Technocracy. And basically the Zephyr Corporation is going to know if you go in there with guns blazing. If Zephyr Corporation is behind the engineering of this virus still, and they're just pretending that they're not, then they are going to basically challenge anyone who tries to go in. They will either make the virus go underground, or they will attack back, and there will be intergalactic war, and it would be a bad scene. Or, if they're not responsible, they are still likely to cause problems in terms of resistance, or they might want a cut of the action, or whatever else. Essentially, it will get Zephyr Corps to notice you, and you don't want Zephyr Corps noticing you. You want to do this, according to Aricia and Abraxas, below the radar, basically. And so that's why a small strike team. The four of you, however, will not be going alone. In addition to yourself and Rona, who is offered to pilot the Hyperlance, you have also got with you 3 other individuals, not counting Alfred, I suppose. The first are the 2 Matakai that originally you met, and that is Layden, who's the Matakai warlord, whose mate, remember, sort of fought with you guys on the station and then ended up dying, presumably in trying to resist the long winter and its attack. And Kratos, who is the long virus. And Kratos, who is the Matakai lieutenant, who is basically Layden's second in command. Those 2 will be accompanying you, along with the infamous, at least to Petra, Tizora Maraclay, her good dear friend who never gets her in any trouble except all the time when they're around. And so, yeah. So you've got Rona piloting, the 4 of you going, plus the 2 Matakai, and Tizora, along with a couple of people to help with crewing the Hyperlance. But those folks are basically just going to be staying on the ship. These are the ones that you've got attending you. So that's where we're at. Okay. So before you depart, does anyone have anything else that they need to accomplish or do here before we take off?
Just a quick power question. Do I have a chance to change up Aramis's quick construct before we head out?
Yes, sure.
Cosmetically?
Sure.
Okay, so that is going to happen. Just let me know when is a good time to introduce myself in the entourage again.
Okay. I would say, okay, well, soon then, I would say, because it'll be when everyone else has figured out what they want to do. Kaz and Aramis, do you have anything else you want to do before departing the station?
Not before departing, no.
What about you?
No, I can't think of anything that Aramis needs to do at this particular point.
Okay. So then, as you are on the ship, getting ready to leave, the airlock door opens, and in strides Sleepwell, accompanied by his entourage. He's got a small Kaz, a small Petra, a small Sleepwell, and...
He has a small, very plain robot with no apparent head on it, but who's wearing a t-shirt that says, "I'm a drunken, emotionally dead trash fire of a person."
Aramis just looks at it, takes a big drink from the flask, looks over at Kaz and says, "Teenagers, I'll be in my bunk," and heads to the heads to my quarters to get really drunk.
Oz turns to Sleepwell and says, "Where's the construct of Armus?"
And I just go,
Oh.
that's the joke.
I see things haven't gotten better between you two.
And I just kind of like stomp off with my entourage. And go,
Okay. And with no further ado, the Hyperlance takes off on its journey. Now, one note that I want to make very quickly is that the Abraxas obviously is staying behind because he's got to monitor the station, as is Aricia. Both of them are going to try to help if they can, but they warn both of you that Sector 77 is well known for being not only a lawless area, but a dangerous area where there's lots and lots of illegal broadcasts and wireless and Wi-Fi signals and all that. And so basically it's not a great place to be able to get other connections through. So they will do what they can, but they will do... I want that shirt. Oh, man.
No, you don't understand. I want to wear that shirt on next stream. I want to be in Carlos's presence wearing that shirt.
I have to say, I want to talk to the Esper Genesis guys about getting Esper Genesis material on the shop. And, I listen, I will make a note. Can we get this? Can we get a shirt? Sure.
it's really great.
EG stuff. That's awesome.
If I can get a shirt made by the next Saturday, I may be wearing it. Just saying.
That is really, really funny. I will look into it. I will see what I can do. So anyway, I'm just warning everybody that it will not be easy to get messages through. You may be at least partially on your own once you arrive to this place. All right.
Okay.
And so as you, excuse me, travel across the Silrain Arc, and this is a trip using several wormholes and then sort of traveling over the course of a couple of days. You make this trip very quickly and quietly, and part of the reason is that you finally had the chance to see the Hyperlance working almost at full efficiency. Now, it's not completely full efficiency yet, because remember, Alfred, who is still in the ship, is shut down because of the fears of the fact that the long winter may have infected. In fact, there's a pretty good chance that he did infect Alfred. And so there is great concern about the chances of restarting him. And so long as Alfred is not functional, it means the Hyperlance is not going to be operating at 100% efficiency. However, they have already made a lot of tweaks to the engines and adjustments and fixes and part stuff and so forth. And Spindra was as good as her word in getting the ship back up and running. And so this ship runs very smoothly, very quickly, and very quietly. And you were able to avoid sort of, patrols and things like that. But mostly what you notice as you're kind of flying along, is there's a lot of sort of subspace chatter and coded messages kind of flying back and forth. You're not able to decode all of them, but there's a couple that you decode that basically say that there are a lot of sort of different races that are talking about problems that their ships are beginning to encounter. Shields going down when they're not supposed to, warp drives going on when they're not supposed to, things of this nature. There's rumors that a hospital ship actually shut down and lost a number of patients because their engines unexpectedly shut off. These all seem to be computer-related problems, and as yet, they all seem like isolated instances, but you hear enough of them that it begins to make you wonder, is whatever this is starting to sort of spread as time goes on. And so you feel this kind of anxiety as you approach closer and closer to Old Earth. Now, I have a question for all of you before I actually touch down and we talk about what happens on there. Which of you, if any, have ever been to Old Earth? Would you
I
say?
definitely haven't.
Have not. Kaz or Aramis?
I would say probably no.
Okay. You live there nonstop? Nice. I'm glad that shout outs to Old Earth. Aramis, what about you?
I'm gonna give you a complicated answer.
Okay.
The answer is in both lives, yes.
Okay.
Hmm.
And
In both lives, yeah. Okay.
and Aramis would be aware of a little bit of the both lives part. I mean,
Aramis is not aware of his previous life at all.
okay,
However, his previous life is definitely going to be aware of him if he
got it.
shows up in certain places. So
I am glad to hear that. Okay, so
Aramis would have frequented or would have been to Earth as on his sort of like wandering journey after the war, but not for any particular reason that was driven necessarily by, his previous life in any way.
gotcha.
I have some things that I'd like to do as we're on transit to Earth.
Okay.
I don't know if now's the best time for that, or if you were still.
No, you can do that because I'm about to talk about what happens when you get close into Earth. So
Okay.
That's fine. You can do that. Also,
So-
you should all click on that Twitter link and should retweet it at Alligator Rally immediately. You should do that right now.
So
Immediately.
I want to, in the time that we were heading to Earth, in my quarters, I want to see if I can do some sort of a diagnostic on my suit.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm kind of leaving it up to your discretion on what the Lare, like what the extent of how much I can do with this. But basically, I want to check. I want to do what I can to repair my suit and any like superficial damage that I've taken.
Okay.
But also mostly to see if I still have any lingering traces of the long winter in me that I can detect somehow.
So the sort of the damage, the external damage that you're talking about, you can absolutely do, and you're able to repair much of that.
Okay.
For the secondary part of it, I'm going to ask you to make a computers check for me.
Okie dokie.
Thank you, Lone Wolf.
All
You're doing God's work.
11.
Okay. So as you are sort of running through different aspects, now your suit is not like this incredibly complexly computerized. It's extraordinarily complex, but it's largely sort of organically driven, but not entirely. Mm-hmm. And so as you're going through a lot of the sort of routines that you would normally run through, I guess the way I would describe it is if you've ever been in a restaurant and you've been reading a menu and someone's having a conversation with you at the same time, so you kind of just keep reading the menu and you're like, what is on the menu? Like you keep sort of not seeing it
Yeah.
because you have to keep kind of going. This is the way it feels to you. Like as you're going through things, you keep feeling like you've checked everything, but then you're like, what was the thing that I checked? And you keep going back over this and it doesn't, something seems to be there seems to be a gap of some kind in your analysis of your own suit.
Is this something that I'm used to happening
No.
when I do diagnostics like this?
No.
Okay. Then maybe after some internal confusion, I would seek out sleep well.
Okay. You can absolutely do that.
Sleep well?
Yeah, you can tell immediately. Still kind of down in the dumps.
Can I come in?
Yeah, sure. Comes to the door. Actually, your
What's the
Kaj
scene?
opens the door.
Yeah, what do I see? My imagination is running wild.
You see all of the constructs playing a game called Esper Genesis on the floor.
Yeah. Brandon!
Which of them is the dungeon master?
So
The dude with the shirt, obviously. Oh,
Nice. I dig it.
So I was like, yeah, what's up?
What are they doing?
Oh, we're just playing a game. Yeah, what's up?
I think there's something still wrong with my suit, and I wanted another pair of eyes. If you could help me for a second.
Oh, okay. Guys, don't get my character killed while I'm gone. And they all
We
just kind of
can
nod,
do it
except
in-
for the headless one,
We can do it in here if you need to supervise him. I have all the stuff.
They had this one just looks above like his DM screen, right? It's just like sort of like with his shirt that like lowers down again, like just
Holds up the empty flask.
That's right.
oh god.
So I was like, where should we do this? I guess,
mean,
I don't know.
I just said we could do it in here if you want to stay to supervise them.
Well, I mean, I don't want to interrupt the game. All right, guys, let's
Well,
take time. So come on in. So,
All right.
Oh,
you were playing with them?
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm playing a.
wait. How? Okay, I won't get into it. All right. So I was trying to do a diagnostic on my suit, which is not the easiest thing to do. And I'm not sure if I told you, but when I was brought back, of the several times I've been brought back over the past couple days, one of those, the most recent one, I don't even remember when it was. I don't even remember. But it was when we were dealing with the long winter. And as I was brought back, I think Petra had used my energy coil. But when I charged that energy coil, I charged it using the station's energy. That is the station that was being powered by the long winter. And even then, I kind of detected that there was some lingering essence in the coil, and she used it on me because at that time I hadn't discovered that I could actually be healed by organic things. But anyway, needless to say,
You have the long winter in you?
I'm maybe. I feel fine. I feel absolutely
Whoa. Let's
fine. Sleep well.
have
I
a
will.
look.
I
This
think
is-
it'll be okay. I think it'll be fine.
I don't think this is I mean, I don't understand your suit. Your very strange, difficult to understand alien starsuit. I don't understand the long winter and how it functions. Like,
You're
I'll take a look. Sure.
you're the most engineer person I know on this ship at the moment. The other one kind of was chased off.
But either Spindler would be useless anyway. Totally useless. She just lied to you. Hate that woman.
That's
but-
another conversation we should have, but maybe not right now.
Yeah, why don't we determine if a psychotic AI is inside of you first?
Yes.
We probably need to. I mean, is there any way we can get you out of your suit to be safe? Like, what if this long winter thing just starts going nuts? Like, how do we extract you, destroy the suit, and keep you safe?
I'm pretty sure that if it is inside, it should be identifiable if I'm also inside. I'm not sure if I have to be outside for us to remove it, but if we determine that, then yes, I can be outside for a very short amount of time. But
So
I think-
here's a question: does your suit run on code? Like, are you a coded?
in if you're calling Bolare super Genesis organic material celestial energy code,
Well,
then
that's what
sure.
I'm thinking. Like, if you are like this, uncanny amalgam of star stuff and organic material and cybernetics, I can't imagine that the thing would just be able to invade and take over carte blanche. But maybe it's trying to figure its way out. It's trying to figure how to do that.
Yeah. Well,
So
the thing
what we
is
need to do like, where would be the place to look? Like, where would it get stuck? Like when it came in? So like, where the coil enters, right? Where do you attach the coil?
well,
Is this gonna get gross?
not for me. But well, there's a few things. The Bolare by themselves are we are energy beings. And the technology in which we use to interact with the world or the universe at large, the tradition of creating these mechanical suits has been passed down for millennia, eras of ancient Bellare history. But I am not my suit. My suit is perfectly adapted to work specifically for me, but there is a very, very, very fine point at which I stop and the suit begins. But it's hard to tell, especially to someone who's not a Bellare. I can point out to you, though, where the coil enters, and I can point out to you where kind of how I'm doing my diagnostics, at least from an external level. I don't know. Maybe there's something that I'm not seeing because I'm on the inside.
Let's start there. Let's start where the coil went in, because my sense is that if the thing got into you, it's now like just trying to figure out what to do next, and it's probably just writing tons and tons of code trying to figure out how to spread and how to invade. And I mean, you're probably the hardest thing it's ever had to tackle.
Probably.
We don't have infinite time if it's in there, so let's take a look there. So that's what we're going to do, Greg. I'm going to try to take a look at the entry point of the coil. And I'm assuming the coil has some kind of data chip or something, the same way that like batteries now come with like little microprocessors or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, that there's some kind of processor that would have allowed itself to attach itself to, that then it would transfer in some way to that. So like, that's what I'm looking. I'm looking for the means by which it could jump from coil to whatever this isolated part of the suit is.
Okay, so what I'm going to ask you to do is I'm going to ask you to do a check for, I'm going to ask you to do a mechanics check for figuring out where it locks into the body of the Bellare suit. I'm going to ask you to do
just show him?
Yeah, well, yeah, which means he'll do it at advantage.
Okay.
And then I'm going to ask you to do, because you could say like it goes here, like he could see it, but like figuring out what that means, like the impact of that is a different matter.
Fair
And then the other thing is I'm going to have you do a computers check on the coil itself to see if you can track down this microchip, Sleepwell. So those are the two things. You can do it whichever order you like.
So am I doing both at advantage or one at advantage?
No, just the mechanics check at advantage, because he's telling you where it is. The computer check, he doesn't know where to tell you where to look in the coil. It's just this thing that he normally uses to attach to himself. You're going to have to try to find that little microchip that exists there. Excuse me.
So then I'm going to do the mechanics checks first, because I think that's a little easier.
Okay.
Just in terms of the bonuses.
Sounds reasonable.
Roll 1 is an 11. Roll 2 is a 12.
Okay, so we're looking at a 12. So, so you can see where the mechanics. You can sort of see where the coil may have interfaced into his suit. The thing that's odd to you is that the interface itself, and you probably would not be able to determine without getting more direct access to the suit, which would expose you to potentially deadly radiation, so that's probably not going to happen. But your best guess is that the sort of interface is designed to essentially, as if you were kind of tapping a wire into a ever-running electrical current. That's kind of what he does with the coil. He attaches the coil, and the coil then contacts with the internal energy of his body, and then that allows it basically to kind of spread throughout the suit. As near as you can tell, his suit is this marvelous combination. It almost is a little bit like your new nanoweave armor, except infinitely more complicated, where every part of it seems to be the equivalent of a sensor, like a nerve ending. If you could imagine all the nerve endings within a body, right? Imagine that being put into this exoskeleton. Yeah, basically. And so your best guess is that that's what this does. It interfaces by entering that energy field. But, you know, what happened when it did that the last time, that's hard to tell. Sleep well, Von Ether. Thank you again.
I'm going to take now the roll to check to see how the coil...
Okay.
Oh, and I bombed that one.
Okay. Yeah. You, as you're sort of looking at it, you're like, there's definitely, you're almost positive that there is a nanochip somewhere in here. But you don't know exactly where it would be. This coil is not a normal energy coil that you've seen before. You've seen energy coils like this that are usually designed to sort of transfer, almost like kind of advanced batteries for mechanical devices, but this one is of a strange construction that you're not familiar with.
So, I say all this to Kaz, sort of like in summary, and I was like, Look, I mean, I think the ethical thing to do is to tell everybody on board that this has happened. You know, right now we're in the middle of a trip. We can't really take the time to diagnose all the things, and I don't know that there's anybody qualified within, you know, I don't even know how far to even do this kind of work. We need to just like tell everybody what happened so that we can decide what's best to do as a group.
Yeah, I agree.
Maybe we should do that now.
Yeah, let's go ahead.
Guys, we'll play later, okay? And
They all look up at you, like tilting their head. They sort of slump their shoulders rather dejectedly. And
yeah, I know Esper Genesis is like the best game, but we'll play later, I promise.
they nod vigorously. In particular, Sleepwell seems like really the mini Sleepwell just kind of like slams his hand down and kind of like turns away, kind of stares at the wall.
That guy is such a teenager, I swear. All right.
Okay, so you head off to find them. Now, are you now? Right now, Rona is on the bridge, basically running things, running the Hyperlance. Aramis, this is, by the way, I'm sorry, this is like early evening-ish, right? Like, I'm guessing is when Sleepwell was playing this game, if I'm not mistaken.
Sure.
Okay, so I would say probably Petra is going to be on the bridge, sort of trying to figure out what's going on with her. I should mention, by the way, I don't know if you were here for this, Johnny, but the ship communicated with her again on several occasions. The Hyperlance did, the AI. And during one of these sessions, I don't remember if she said that or not, but you would have heard about it like in the session because I talked to her about it openly. The AI said something to the effect of "I love you" to Petra, which kind of she was like, So she's still trying to figure out what's going on with her connection here to this ships, to the Hyperlance and the AI. So she's probably there. Where would you be, Aramis?
Aramis would be sitting in his quarters or laying on his bed in his quarters, drinking and watching old kung fu films.
Excellent. Is there a particular? Are we talking like Return of the Dragon? Are we talking we talking The Chinese Connection? Like what you know?
We would have started with Bruce Lee, and then we would have gone through every other sort of, genre-esque kind of thing. Would have made our way through some of the blaxploitation films of the 70s as well. Sure. Involving what was the guy's name? I can't remember. Jim something or other. And then we just would have worked, then would have worked through the 80s of like some of the better sort of
Remo
like
Williams.
films that were coming. Yeah, except for all of the terrible, sort of like, things that go along with the Joel Grey character. But yeah,
yes,
totally.
Other than that, Iron Monkey, Fist of Legend. Yeah. Like, like The Last Airbender,
Right.
Not the M. Night Shyamalan movie, which never happened.
Yes.
That, all that, right? Yeah.
For some reason, you're now
Right.
watching Rush Hour because it was recommended.
You're like, what am I doing? And you're watching Chris Tucker going, what? How does anyone make their voice go that high? Let's see. Oh, man. Yeah, I'm thinking of that Temple one with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar too. Why can I not remember the name of it? Anyway,
That's
it's Temple of
Game of Death.
Game of Death. Yeah. Oh man. And then little Jet Li with Once Upon a Time in China. Anyway,
Totally.
And Kung Fu Hustle, sure. Okay, so all right, you're watching all of
Yes.
those.
No. Then I would be watching Shaolin Soccer and all the other Stephen Chow films.
Yeah.
All of those movies. Those movies are amazing.
Okay, do you ever see any of the 70s, the Sonny Chiba, the 70s one?
Yes.
Where so the Sonny, for those of you who don't know, I love Kung Fu films. Sonny Chiba was a 70s incredibly violent one where like the guy who's basically like this disaffected martial artist, he like goes around and he like kills gangsters and stuff. But when he hits them, the film literally cuts to an X-ray of him crushing the skull of the person that he just hit, and it's like, oh man, Sonny Chiba is like, it's one of those ones you have to watch one of so you can just be like, oh god, like that's Sonny Chiba.
The Mortal
anyway.
Kombat of martial film.
You finish with Kung Fu Panda. No, I don't think that. I think we're going the wrong direction, King. I don't think that's the idea.
No, I finished with The Matrix.
Oh, nice. And the first one, which is where they should have finished also. Hey,
Right.
it hurts because it's true. What's up, Dragon? Good to see you, man. Okay, so you're doing this, and I'm curious. Do you have basically your sort of earbuds / headphones on as you're listening to this, or is it kind of loudly like, like through the room, like echoing type of thing?
The entire ship can fucking hear it if they walk by. It's like, yeah, it's on.
Okay, because I have this image of Kaz and Sleepwell coming up to Aramis's quarters, and basically like just hearing from it.
and Aramis is in front of the TV doing the mimicking. He's mimicking
from outside of the hallway. So that's what you hear outside in the hall.
Just a second. And then you guys hear like something like smash, and I make that sound. I make some sort of like sound, and I'm like, pause, and that sound stops. Door slides open. Aramis is clearly drunk, also really sweaty from doing his nunchuck practicing, and you can see they're sort of hanging from there, and you can see him sort of swinging it a little bit, like, and he's got it swinging, so he's like, it's doing that sort of like round thing,
yeah,
where it's just like, and I'm like, so what's up?
Kaz, seeing that Aramis is in this state, immediately turns to Sleepwell and says, "Maybe we should just have this in the morning. Let's
No, we have to do it now."
I disagree. Aramis, please continue whatever you're doing.
What's going on
inside of his suit? Says, well,
swinging, and it stops, and the other side of it just kind of dangles.
Flaccidly.
Looks from Sleepwell to Kaz. What?
And then I nudge,
Well, if we're gonna do it now, then let's get everyone. Come on, Aramis, let's go. We're getting the whole ship. We need to have a game plan about when we get there anyway.
And as Aramis is kind of walking behind you guys, you see him do the flicking motion where he slams the nunchuck in such that it reforms the staff, and after reforming the staff, it kind of like collapses, and then it's all one fluid motion, and you can see that Aramis has been working really hard at just making it one fluid motion to make it as cool a look as possible.
I mean, and it is look very cool. I was actually hoping when the door opened that you were just gonna reach out your hand and just be like, like the Bruce Lee. Anyway, okay.
So we assemble the rest of the ship for a late night meeting.
All right, and you do this on the bridge. Now, Rona has it at the moment sort of like lays into autopilot. At this point, I would say that you're probably about a day out from Sol and from Old Earth. So she can set this into autopilot. In a couple of hours, she's going to need to take over and start doing more stuff because, there's the danger of running into Zephyr Corps, patrols and stuff like that. But for now, everything seems to be okay. So everyone kind of waits for the two of you, I guess, Sleepwell and Kaz to speak.
Hello, everyone. So aside from planning what we're going to do when we arrive and going over what we need to find in the sector, Sleepwell and I thought it pertinent to display to the crew that especially those of us that are actually going down to the planet, that we may have some difficulties in certain areas, especially dealing with the people in Sector 77 and the thing that we believe to be stored there, and possibly with me. And we're still trying to figure it out, and we're trying to find a solution in how to deal with it before it becomes a problem, possibly. We're not sure. But mostly for our party as we land on the planet or get close to it. When we were back at a previous station in the last mission that we took the Hyperlance to, we were encountered by the Long Winter, which was this AI that we're currently tasked with disabling all the way. And when I was revived for the 4 millionth time, it was on that 4 millionth time that my energy coil was used, and we have a sneaking suspicion that the Long Winter may have, in a way, infected my energy coil that I used to heal myself, or used to heal myself.
So there's this heavy silence when you say that descends on the ship, and you can see the two Matakai, Layden and Kratos, of course, were called as well. Layden is standing in her usual impassive way with her arms folded, which is pretty much like 99 times out of 100 the way that you see her. But Kratos is clearly upset and kind of growls sort of angrily low in his throat, and then starts muttering something to Layden in a language that's not familiar, presumably Matakai.
Nope. I took the
right.
time to learn.
That's
Matakai.
right, you learned it. I take that back. You're quite right. So basically what he's muttering is, this is the kind of thing I would have expected. You can't trust these creatures. And see, Layden puts up a hand and just and he sort of falls into a sullen silence. And she looks at you with her arms folded and her eyes narrowed slightly, and she says, "Do you mean that you are a risk to this mission? That at any time you could lose control or give away our position?"
I certainly hope that's not the case. And given that we've never interacted with this AI before, and that, to my knowledge, Bellari don't have to deal with these types of infections, if it even exists, very often at all, I don't know what could happen, if anything. I think our imaginations are probably our worst enemy up until something either does or doesn't happen. But
hope is a lot to risk an entire mission on. And frankly, given what I've personally found with this thing, hope is not something I'd want to rest easy in believing. And of course, you are reminded, Kaz, sort of momentarily about the loss of her mate that happened the last time they encountered a bunch of stuff with this. And so she says that and then falls silent, and Rona kind of says, "Kaz, you mean that you can't feel this thing trying to take over, take control? Do you even know that it's there? I mean, it's an energy coil. How could an energy coil infect you?"
Well, when I used the station we were on to power the coil, I noticed an energy, a type of weird fluctuation that was not usual to the coil being charged. And then when Petra inevitably had to use it, and I was brought back, there was a split second where I swore I could actually see the Long Winter. And it didn't just feel like a memory, if I'm being completely honest. So, what, Aramis?
I may be drunk, but did you just say see?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
I saw a visage of some sort, like a face almost contorted, and I don't know how to describe it.
That's terrifying.
Yeah, and you're not even the one who saw it. So I don't know what to say, honestly, and I am only more concerned now that all of you are as concerned. But the only possible solutions I can see, I mean, we have to remember that we don't even know to what extent this is even happening. It could all just be our own convolution that we're all thinking up, or that I'm thinking up, but we don't know the actual powers of this thing. The only thing that I could see working, because I've tried to do a diagnostic on my suit and I haven't found anything. And Sleepwell took a look and hasn't really found anything from an external standpoint. The only thing that I would think would be the next logical step would be to get access to the Long Winter again somehow in order to understand if it, like, how its abilities work, or to find another Bellare to help me with my own diagnostic, which I haven't seen one of my own kind in a long time. Although, given that we're headed to a shady area and that's kind of off the grid, part of me feels like I wouldn't be surprised if I met one there. But at that point, it may be too late. I don't know. So, Sleepwell and I thought it would be fair to, well, no, mostly Sleepwell. Sleepwell thought it would be fair to express to the crew the situation. And since we all know this now, I kind of leave it up to you guys to decide what you want to do with this. If you think that I should stay on the ship, or if you're really feeling precautionary, lock me up.
And
Look,
go ahead.
the risk here is minimal. And Aramis looks over at Sleepwell and points to him. The kid brought back Alfred. I don't fault him for that. I don't fault his attachment for that. I don't even fault him for the silly damn t-shirt on the silly damn Silicron. So I don't think you need to go anywhere. We're already mitigating that risk. You're only another vector for the attack at this point. So let's get you fixed up, buddy. Because otherwise, it's no good on the sidelines.
Yeah.
And Tizora speaks up. She's been standing off to one side, kind of probably closer to Petra than the others, although not appreciably so. And she says, you know, there's another way to look at it too. Maybe if Kaz does have some of this thing, maybe it'll bring out people who've got access to this pulse emitter or whatever it is. Maybe they'll come out to find him. It'll be another rival signal, right? Maybe they figure another gang's got a hold of it. They need to take him out, find out who has what. Use him as the bait for a change.
We have a copy of that pulse sensor, right? Rona or someone?
Yeah, you do have a sensor, yes, that you're using to kind of track this. That is the case.
Assuming it's a physical object, I find it and look to Sleepwell and say, maybe there's a way we can recalibrate this to try to look for other signals, even small ones.
Pretty good idea.
Because the other thing too is, wasn't Alfred also affected by this?
That's why we have him shut down right now, and why they're trying to figure out what they can do to isolate and clean the virus out of him. But we basically did a circuit break on him so that he wouldn't be functional while we were unsure.
All right, so I guess that can be our next project is to see if this sensor gives off any other signals.
Yeah, so I'm going to take a look at that and see if I can apply my
vast engineering expertise.
You're exactly. Okay. For this is a computer's check, though, so you're going to need to use your computer's knowledge to be able to check it out.
Okay. At this point, what I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to use my luck. If you remember the luck, I can add up to 3 6-sided dice, so I have these extra dice that I can add to rolls.
Yep.
And so I'm going to add 2d6. I'll save 1 and 1d6 for my next long rest. But So that means, so I'll roll first, but I'm saying now I'm adding the 2d6. So even if I get a high roll,
Got it.
like I'm still gonna add 2d6.
Yep.
I don't quite know how to do that. So
Well,
okay.
So yeah, so make your check using the stuff in here, and then you can just then you can roll a separate 2d6 basically.
Right. Okay. So the roll is 11.
Okay.
And then 6 and 5.
Damn. Well, that's quality extra roll.
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay. As you begin to look at this is essentially an incredibly elaborate, and the pulse sensor, I should say, is at the moment kind of stationary. It's partially wired into the computer system of the Hyperlance, so you have to be a little careful about how you play around with it. But what you're able to determine is that the thing essentially is like an advanced kind of sonar. Basically, it senses by sending out pings in every direction, and then not unlike to jump out of game for a minute, radar detector in a car, it senses if something is sending out a signal in the opposite direction. The thing about this is that right now it is directed completely towards this one signal. There is a risk that if you try to recalibrate it to find other signals, you're going to lose the initial signal. Now, you may get it back, but there is the danger that if you take it off of the signal it's currently focused on, it will lose it and might be difficult to get it back because of what you were previously told about all of the interlocking signals and all of the interfering signals coming up on this planet. And so there is a risk in doing this that you think you could set it, probably you could calibrate it so that it would be detecting if the sensor is coming off of Kaz or frankly anything else in the ship. But to do that, to almost turn it inwardly, essentially, would mean that you would lose the external signal and you might not be able to get it back.
So what I say, I explain this to everybody, and then I say, so let's wait till we land. Basically, once we're there, we can turn it to Kaz. And in the meantime, let's just keep an eye on him.
And Kratos sort of shakes his head and kind of again mutters to himself, this time below his breath, so you can't really hear what he's saying. Cosby doesn't sound like Layden can hear him either. He just kind of like, and just kind of shakes his head. And Layden sort of waits, and then she nods impassively as if, that'll be good enough for now. Rona shrugs and returns to her piloting duties. And Petra looks very thoughtful. You notice Petra's been very quiet for much of this trip. Seems to have just been sort of staring into the middle distance, Possibly my favorite term ever, by the way, is middle distance, because it means absolutely goddamn nothing, but it sounds good. Like, just like, what the hell's the middle distance? Or the distance, so they close it.
Yes.
Anyway, you agree to that. And unless anyone does anything else in particular, the rest of the trip seems to pass relatively uneventfully until about an hour or two out, but I'll come to Kaz. Yeah.
I do want to shortly speak with Kratos.
Okay. You can do that. Do you want to get him right as, speak to him right after he leaves?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So
how long do we have before we arrive? Is it like an hour?
This is about the day. No, this is about the day before. So you probably have another 12, 13 hours, probably.
Okay, so I'll take another long rest then.
Okay, you can do that.
To get back my dice.
Yeah, you can do that. Okay. Yes. So Kaz, and while everyone is heading off to do their various things, you can follow him. He kind of is just sort of stomping down the hall.
I kind of lowly shout out to him in Matakai, Kratos. Well, that's his name, but
right. He stops and turns. What?
And all of this is in Matakai. I understand your skepticism. In fact, assuming that you are going down with us, if you get any sensation or indication that I am going to turn against the group, I personally give you my permission to do what you can to protect the others, and whatever the extent of that may mean. I want you to understand that us telling you this and me telling you about what happened, it's not my intention to betray you at all, if it comes to that.
So he kind of looks you up and down and takes a long moment, and he says, "Don't take this the wrong way, Blare, but I don't need your permission to do anything. Least of all, protect others if you prove out to be dirty." And he turns and walks away.
All right. That went great.
Charming to the last.
Dirty.
Yeah. So,
I'm gonna go see if Sleepwell has some room in his Esper Genesis game.
all right.
All right, that's it for me.
So, the rest of the trip passes uneventfully, and about an hour or two out, Rona calls you onto the bridge so you can see the approach that the Hyperlance is taking. You can see kind of as the forward vid screens in front, the growing, a blue and green orb that's getting sort of larger and larger. There's always a sense for you, Aramis, of vague nostalgia when you see this picture. And for the rest of you, of course, who have heard rumors and sort of things about not just Sector 77, but about the Earth in general, this is always, this is kind of a striking, sort of almost like you're entering a museum, as you get closer. And then Rona begins to point out on some of the vid screen a lot of little sort of blinking series of lights and sort of swirling things that are passing over the planet's surface, because she has this on extreme magnification. And then she goes over to the radar screen and she points out the same thing. And she says, "You see all of that?" And she's sort of saying it to all of you generally.
Yes.
And Layden kind of grunts, and a few others. And she says, "That's bad." And she says, and Layden says, "Yes. Apparently we're expected then." And Rona says, "I don't know about expected. I doubt they would know that we were here. But they obviously have something going on over there. Each one of these," and she points at like 3 different sets of these sort of lights, "each one of these is a small fleet. Not that large by fleet standards, maybe 7-8 ships each, but squadrons, I suppose. But 3 squadrons of ships surrounding Old Earth, all registered to the Zephyr Corps. That tells me that they've got something going on over this place." And Kratos kind of mutters to himself and then says, "So now what?" And Layden says, "What else can we do, Kratos? We have a mission to undertake." And Rona kind of looks back at all of you and says, "This is our last chance to change our minds. After this, we go in rigged for silent running. And once we get through and past them, we won't have a chance, except once, to try to get past this perimeter. Either we turn back now, or we go all the way into Old Earth and do what we were sent to do."
This is at the end of Mass Effect, where it's like, once you begin this section of the story,
This is
you
the
will
point
not
of
be
no
able to
return.
save. Yes.
Save
Save right now. Save it. Save it.
Yeah, I go up to the Hyperlance console. I save the game. And
Little glowing diamond. Let me just save state.
Yes, I create a new save. In fact.
Yeah,
I
a
don't-
hard save. Yes.
Yep. Mm-hmm. All right, guys, I think I'm ready.
And she kind of glances at Petra, who seems again thoughtful, and then looks at Sleepwell and Aramis, and kind of like raises her eyebrows as if to say, like, "Well,
We didn't come all this way for nothing. Let's do it."
When you say silent running, will we be going invisible?
And she kind of gets this wolfish grin, and she says, I've been waiting to see exactly how that works for a long time.
I mean, let's light her up.
So she hits a couple of buttons, and you have this strange experience of feeling slightly unsettled, as if the floor beneath you kind of moved slightly, and the outlines of the ship in front of you kind of also shimmered. But the outside vid cameras that are sort of turned back on the ship show the ship kind of going and then just passing into what looks like a clear water, sort of ship-sized and shaped water, like passing through, and then completely vanishes, as if you can see stars through it. And she says, now this is the cool part. And she hits another button, and suddenly the engines, which have been on a very low hum, go completely silent. You're just standing completely in silence as this thing drifts, still at the same speed, towards these ships. And as you get closer and closer to one of these fleets, you can see that there are a couple of sort of larger ships here, what look like maybe there probably is like a supply freighter of some kind in the middle, but most of these are basically like fighters. There's a couple of what look like maybe, you know, one of these things seems to have like a dreadnought class, almost like the fall of the, what the heck was it? The Eos Kaldor, you know, like that you folks were on at the very beginning, that sort of thing that Aramis and Petra and Kaz were at least at the beginning, this sort of thing. And she actually travels directly towards it. And there's a moment where, you know, Layden, you know, sort of like, and Kratos is like, ugh, kind of grunts, like almost like, what are you doing? And then you see the ship, the Hyperlance, literally just goes straight through the fleet, passing by these ships, and you just see it like, and you can actually see the ship through the outline of your ship as it passes by with nothing, you know, complete no response at all from anything else, and passes all the way through, and then gets into actually passes further and then gets into the planetary atmosphere. And at this point, the sort of now things begin to, you know, you begin to hear sound, and she says, all right, you better all get yourself set for landing. And so she basically is going to ask you to take your seats, you know, respectively on the bridge, etc., and get belted in, so to speak. And are you doing that? Like, are you getting yourself set?
Oh, yes.
Yes, Kaz, yes, Hermes as well? Okay. So you get in, and the Hyperlance sort of goes down and then sort of hovers and for just a moment, and then starts to dive again. And you can see the planet sort of rising up towards you. First of all, it gets larger and larger, and then you just see lots and lots of blue. And there's also quite a bit of gray, almost sort of gray from perhaps smoke, or maybe it's smog that kind of hovers above, you know, one level of the planet maybe. And then you break through that, and now you see land masses. And as you get closer, the shapes get larger and larger. And then you find yourself heading towards a very large body of water, and there is a landmass right along the end of it. And you seem to be heading for the edge right between the land and the water. And then you sort of zoom in farther and farther and farther. And then you come to a place where you begin to see the actual sort of breakdown of what looks like twinkling lights on the ground. And then as you get closer, you can see that the reason for those twinkling lights is that it's nighttime, and you are looking at what looks like a sort of, at first it almost looks like just kind of like an array of stars on the ground, and then as you get closer, you can see that it's actually an array of twinkling lights from this vast, sprawling metropolis. The buildings spread wide and flung high to the sky, almost as if in arrogant defiance of the stars and sky above it. And as you get sort of lower and lower and head towards this one section of the city with these blinking lights all around it, and you see kind of ships, what look like small little maybe hover cars, kind of like zipping back and forth and zipping all around, and Rona expertly pilots the Hyperlance in between these things and heads towards one large kind of what looks like a big brownish kind of almost dead area in the middle of these twinkling lights. And she points at it and says, "Well, welcome to old New York. And right there, welcome to Sector 77." And the ship sort of zzz, and then begins to sort of settle down. The retro rockets fire again, almost entirely, not entirely, but almost entirely silently. And then you feel a slight shudder as the ship pulls itself to a halt and settles to the ground. And there's a couple of sort of acknowledging beeps to indicate that they've arrived. And Rona says, "All right, here's the coordinates we were told to go to. I think, according to what Arisa told us, that you're looking for this place, this set of blast doors here that lead into the bottom where Sector 77 is. She called it Autoway 313. According to her, it's maybe 5 minutes walk from here. But from here on in, plenty of oxygen, a whole bunch of smog and smoke, exactly what you want from your dystopic post-industrial civilization. But just as you get off here on the ship, take care of yourselves, will you? Make sure that you get yourselves back in one piece. We went through a lot to get this ship in the first place. Be ashamed to lose it before we really know everything it can do."
Hold that thought a second, Rona. At this point, I'm going to try to use the detector to figure out if Kaz is infected.
Okay. So I will ask you now to, so you think you'll be able to do it. So go ahead and make here for me, please.
And I'll probably try to help in any way that I can, if I can.
Okay. I'm trying to think of how you would help. Like,
I don't know what he's
me.
doing. Or if it has something to do with altering the sensor, then helping him with the mechanics of understanding it. But
right. He thinks he probably knows how to do it. The question is whether he'll be able to. But his check initially means that he probably figured out how to be able to do it.
Okay.
So I will ask you to make a, let's see. I think this actually is mechanical. I'll ask you to make a mechanical check to kind of basically reverse the polarity of the sensor, essentially, Sleepwell, so that it's aimed at the inside of the ship. So I'll ask you to do that.
So, and I'm going to add 1d6 of luck to this.
Of this 3 that you have now, right? Because of
That's right. I have 3
So
total,
you have
1d6 of luck.
Okay.
So here's the roll first.
Okay.
14, 17 total.
Okay. So when you sort of reverse the polarity of this thing, the pulse sensor sort of, pauses for a moment, and then it starts to kind of blink. The sensor kind of goes off in this sort of weird thing, and essentially what you're looking at on the screen is it's sort of jumping all around the ship and the area around the ship and Sector 77. So as Rona's looking at it, she kind of says, "There's too many conflicting signals. You're never going to get through that." And so, Sleepwell, it's possible that there is something on this ship which is infected. It's possible that Kaz could be infected, but there's so many conflicting signals plus the other signal. Apparently the proximity of this pulse emitter, which means it's got to be pretty close, by the way, the actual one that you were originally looking for, means that you're getting conflicting signals. So the answer is maybe, but there's it's impossible to focus it apparently any more than you've already done.
Okay, so I basically say, we've learned nothing. I took as good a shot as I could, but we're just running blind here.
All right. I'll do my best.
So the door opens and to the outside, and all of you exit. And again, you've got Layden and Kratos along with the 4 of you, and head down the ramp to the ground. And you have this sort of odd experience as you come to the outside of it. Indeed, the Hyperlance is set down right near the exact spot you were supposed to be. They're just about 2 or 3 minutes walk from where you are. You can see a pair of these rusting blast doors that are very large, which block the entrance. and they have the word quarantine, which is stamped on them in bold yellow letters, although those letters are now kind of aged and faded and stuff like that. It's obviously been a while since somebody did that as well. Sleep well, Lone Wolf. However, the doors have been partially forced apart, and so there is enough room for you to slip through one at a time if you wish.
And this is
the ingress point for Autoway 313, which is apparently the lead-in that basically goes down and straight to get into Sector 77.
All right.
Oh, just to be clear too, I've brought the entourage with me. So like the whole.
Okay. Oh, right. Yes.
We're
sorry.
a big mob.
Got it. They're all arguing with each other about the Esper Genesis game.
That's right.
Artemis is still wearing the shirt.
But so basically,
and no head.
I'm gonna just check with everybody. I'm gonna be like, if it's all right, I'll send my crew here in first and have them, cover the entrance as we enter one at a time. Sound good?
That's fine with me.
So I'll give them the command basically to enter one at a time and to spread out evenly on either side of the entrance, weapons out, guarding us as we go through.
Okay. When you enter this place, you find yourself in a long and unlit passage, and you will need, by the way, some kind of light sources here, because it's not only dark because it's nighttime, it's also dark because there doesn't seem to be any light here. At least not here. This is a passageway leading, remember, to Sector 77. From the sort of lights that you can see on the outside, just kind of shining in. In fact, you probably wouldn't even get those lights. So you'll need to have lights yourselves. So who is going to have a light source to kind of
Everybody has dark vision, I think.
Okay, so do you want... That's
do.
fine. If you want to make sure that you keep... sorry, say again, Kaz, you do not?
I do.
Okay. And Aramis does... Okay, so if everyone has dark vision, then that's fine.
Do the Matakai?
That's a good question, actually. That'd be fine. Let me tell you about those Matakai and whether they do. Matakai...
Matokai. Matokai.
Okay, there's your infravision. I wanted to see where it is actually found.
Yep.
They do not. So, what that means is that they can use their own sort of lanterns, basically, ahead of them. They know how to move. I mean, they're not stealthy exactly, but they know how to move pretty, they're not going to make tons of noise. Yep. But they're probably going to need to be able to use that. They can flank out to either side of you far enough that it won't interfere too much with your dark vision if you want. Because this is a pretty wide passageway.
All right. And just so you know, I get to choose 2 different types of quarry that I can get extra benefits for. And right now, the one that I chose that I have permanently is constructs, and then the one that I've chosen manually is automatons.
Okay. That's fine.
Just so you know.
Yes, so we got all that covered.
Yes.
learning from previous situations. Okay.
Yep.
This passageway is dark, and it is full of burned out cars and piles of rubble and encroaching vegetation that is clearly attempting to reclaim what humanity first took away, these many centuries ago. And as you folks go in to this area, I have 2 things to show you. The first is I have a new map for us.
New
question.
map.
Sure.
What type of vehicles are we talking about here? Like, is this like triggering nostalgia for like old movies and stuff, or is this more like
Tesla
relatively
Supertruck?
modern vehicles?
I would
Seriously.
say more the hover car nostalgia of Blade Runner than if you follow what I mean. That
Goddamn
kind of
Elon
thing,
Musk.
where this sort of basically, you see a lot of the Cybertrucks that everyone laughed at,
Yes.
and now they don't.
Yes.
Love
Now
it.
they are the future.
Now they are the future. But yes, so you see stuff like that. It's a lot of that sort of thing. Burned out hover cars. There are also a couple of look like hover bikes that you actually may remember your little encounter with them on Peltiveria a long time ago. Those hover bikes, things like that too. But they look to be, roughly speaking, 20-ish years old, not 100-ish years old. From when the thing was actually shut down. This sector. Okay, so I'm going to bring you over to the Hyperlands for just a second, and then I'm going to bring you over the rest of the way. Okay. You see complete darkness. Not entirely. Okay. All of you come out on the other side here, and I'm going to ask everyone to move their tokens into that area, please. And as you get closer to this section, I should say, from this passageway, which is coming from the south of the map, you can see more lights beginning to sort of twinkle and appear. And you can see some of the buildings have like little lights sort of coming from them of various kinds here and there, but still much of this area is extremely dark still. So yeah. Do you need me to move your tokens on?
Yeah, we don't have them or see
them.
Okay,
you can't do that right. Hold on a second. Vun, there's Aramis.
Aramis.
There's Kaz.
Kaz.
There's Petra.
Petra.
And Sleepwell.
Sleepwell.
And
together they form Voltron.
I will bring in your droids at a later point.
Oh yeah. Should they all occupy the same space or something?
At the moment, I'm just going to have them like as he sends them out to do different things, I may send them out to different situations. But okay, let's see. Let's make this. Oh no! Wait! I have. No, bear with me 1 second, because I don't. The Alligator Alley people were nice enough to send me tokens that I think.
Cool.
There we go. Yeah, threat database tokens. All right. If I have those. Oh no, they didn't put them in here. Damn it. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's a damn shame. All right, I'll have to look for that later on. That's okay. In the meantime, I shall improvise so I can put Kratos and Layden on the map. So for right now, we will put. Okay.
Whoa.
Yeah, exactly. That's totally the scale. Okay. We will copy. Paste. Good. Okay. So I will drop them down a little bit more so that they're more rationally sized. Okay. And I will turn them around so they're actually facing the right way. Okay. Okay, so you're now in here. Now, let me describe a little bit of the sort of general environment. The first thing you notice as you enter here is that the sector is contained by an enormous steel cavern. And as you sort of look up, now your dark vision only goes so far, but there seems to be sort of the elements you could just see from the door kind of that you pass into, leading upwards, like the wall behind you extends up to the ceiling, which then arcs way over your head, hundreds of feet over your head. It's so, basically you can't even see it. And there are these broad streets full of debris and, again, this creeping vegetation which cut through blocks of metal and concrete buildings that are all in varying states of decay. And I will mention that there is before I give this, let me just make sure I have you in the right spot for this. There are these sort of streets leading left and right, and up and all around you, and you're sort of surrounded by buildings in this way. But this area is very much a place that looks like it's been abandoned by any kind of real civilization, essentially. And the other thing I want to note is that the air inside here is currently warm and sticky. It's surprisingly humid. In fact, it almost smells kind of musty and maybe fetid, maybe a little Evergladesy, you might say, Carlos, a little bit like that. And there is this very low metallic thrumming that's coming from beneath the floor. And I also have a picture that I will show you that gives you a sense of what the outside of it looks. So, okay. When you get a chance to look up and sort of around you, you can see that a lot of the buildings here, although, as I said, they are in various stages of disrepair, the buildings themselves actually look like at one time they were pretty impressive. At least a lot of them were. And so I'm going to show you a picture of that. This one's going to be on stream so that chat can see it, and you folks will be able to see it as well. So you can kind of see these buildings sort of tilting and kind of, again, that's too much light. It's much darker than that, but you get the idea. Wow. And you can kind of see them. I'll make it a little bit bigger than that. You can kind of see that at one time there must have been just a vibrant industrial and sort of tech sector here that obviously now is long since run down and destroyed and so forth. But this is what you see, and as you're kind of looking around, you can sort of see that the area that you've been presented with has got many different sort of spots that you could go. I'll lower that and drop it over to the corner. Many different areas that you could go. And Kratos stops and looks at Layden, and then Layden looks at all of you and says, all right, so where do we find this general?
Does the sensor that we have give any stronger indication in any certain direction?
At this point, no. It's not. It got you as specifically as it could get you. It doesn't sort of triangulate. This is the problem that Sleepwell was having when he was trying to, recalibrate it. Basically, you don't necessarily even have it with you, because it's not designed it's not a mobile beep 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 beep, type of thing. It's not a metal detector. It only gives you as much as to get you to this sector.
Well, first of all, I want to take a look down at the ground, and given that you said there's some areas that are kind of overgrown and that are slowly being reclaimed by nature in this area. Right. I want to see if I can see just what type of foot traffic I can see traced in the ground around us.
Sure. Let me have you make a perception check for me, please.
Could I do survival for tracking? Maybe.
Sure. Yes, you may.
Cool. Thank you. Although they're the same, but
it's the principle of the thing, though.
Yeah. Okay, cool. 11. my roll of the day.
There are, for sure, there are lots and lots of, indications of passage one way or the other, but there's nothing specific that tells you, which one is which. Except one important note is that there are many tracks of what look like, boots and shoes, roughly humanoid size. But then there are also some tracks that are much larger, deeper, and look to be these almost like three-toed, clawed something. Could be metallic or could be something else.
Do they look like Matakai feet?
No. They may not even be organic.
Okay. I get
in fact they seem pretty regular as far as that goes. The pattern seems very regular.
I get bonuses on tracking constructs and automatons. Is there a way I can try to determine if that's what these are somehow? Like my know your target says you have advantage on survival checks to track your chosen enemies, and right now it's constructs and automatons. So if I don't know if I'm looking specifically for either of those things.
Yeah,
But
this
it's up
isn't.
to you.
This is not exclusively. What I would say is that this may not. This doesn't seem to you like it's necessarily a construct or an automaton, but it seems like an awfully regular track pattern. Foot
Okay.
track for something that is organic. So if you had to guess, you may be looking at something hybrid.
Oh, all right. And my last question is if there's any more footsteps in one place than there are in another, down certain paths than
Yes,
another path.
that is definitely the case, and it seems to be going up that way. So I'll reveal the rest of that arrow, like there, like heading up that direction. That seems like your main street-ish.
I'm gonna say to everyone, from what I can tell, just doing some tracking, I think we should just head straight forward. I'll tell you if that changes. And while we're going along, unless we get into a fight, I want to just keep my eye on where that heavy foot track continues.
Okay. All right.
Rona had I'm so sorry.
No, it's good.
Rona had told us something about 313. Like I can't remember quite the word she used it beforehand.
The 313 was yes, that's the autoway that you just passed through. That was the passageway that led here. Autoway 313.
I see.
Okay. Which used to be apparently the main route that led into Sector 77.
Okay.
So
So we're already there.
Yeah,
Now we're just in a crawl trying to figure it out.
That's right. You're just on the southern tip, basically, of Sector 77 now.
Okay. Yeah. So I just get all the constructs behind Kaz, and we all start following.
Okay.
Kaz actually stays in the back of the group regardless. He says, I'll keep tracking from back here, but my strengths are in the back of everyone. So.
Okay. All right. And the Matakai, take point, which seems to be their kind of modus operandi. And let me feel a little more and make sure that I'm on the same page with all of you as far as this map is concerned. I think I am. Yes, I am. Lovely. Okay. So you begin to make your way up. And right about here, as you're passing, there's like a little sort of, I guess not too narrow, but sort of narrow. There's a road down here. I guess it's not incredibly narrow, but you can hear coming from down that area. You can hear what sounds like a faint, young feminine voice, which is coming from down that road. You can't see anything when you look down it, but you just hear, "Help! Please help me! Please help me!" And you hear this sound of someone calling for help down that lane. And both of the Matakai sort of stop and then glance down and then look back at you. And it's coming again from over here.
Are all of these black spots on the map like
all buildings?
Sheer drop? Oh, they're buildings.
All
Okay.
buildings, yes.
Got it. And the voice is just coming down from that left alleyway.
Correct. Now this is kind of a slightly bigger than an alleyway, right? It's a road, but and you can't see anything when you look down there. So it may be that it's like behind a building, you know what I mean? Like, but you don't see anything. You do hear it though.
How much distance is there here?
That's a good question.
Where we're standing?
Yeah. Let me see. So let's see. I believe. I actually don't have a.
Does it let you like overlay a grid instantly?
Yeah, it does.
Like
The problem is though that I don't have a direct. I'll add a grid to it, but I don't have a. There we go.
Yeah, that's better.
We'll do it that way. I would say, though, that each of these are probably
10.
no bigger than that.
Like 50,
I would
right?
say probably 50, yeah, because these buildings have got to
Oh,
be at
wow.
least, yeah.
Oh,
it's pretty
okay.
big.
this is
This place is
a
massive, yeah.
mini map.
It's a sector. So really, I would say
Yeah.
50, yeah.
All right.
Okay, so I kind of turn around to everybody. So like, that stupid AI tried to trick us with a fake voice before, but I don't know. Like, do you think it would be doing it again here? Does it sound like the same voice that we heard before, like when we were on the other station?
I would like you to make a perception check for me, please, Sleepwell.
Can we all potentially do that?
Sure. Absolutely. What are you trying to determine, Aramis, though? Like, what are you...
If we recognize the voice.
Okay.
Because the voice was very distinct before, because not only did it was Aramis that was actually initially engaged, and then Sleepwell was the one he handed
Yep.
it off to.
Yep.
So it
Yes.
kind of makes sense that we both be able to do that.
Okay. I will happily accept that.
I rolled a 19.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'll take an 8.
Okay. So you're kind of like, sounds like a voice to me. Aramis, like, seems pretty... However, Sleepwell, something about the timbre and the tenor of the voice. This is not the same voice you heard before, but you're almost positive the voice you're hearing is synthetic.
So I turn around and say this. That's a synth voice that we're hearing right there.
Maybe a synth vox, then, Layden says.
What is that?
It's designed to be able to fool most if they're not paying close attention. You can run a synth voice through it, make it sound like anything you want.
Oh.
Matakai, a woman,
Yeah.
a man, Balare.
And Aramis looks to Sleepwell. Would this be something that somebody would use to allow a synthetic of some kind to speak?
I mean, synthetic creatures can speak, so
That's
I don't-
probably it's what Alfred has, I'm sure. It just depends on what it's being used for.
so
That's why I'm asking the question: is this something that somebody would install or even potentially acquire for themselves if that's how they wanted to communicate?
Greg, would I be able to tell the difference between, say, a synth fox and like a construct that was speaking?
I think with that check, yes, probably. It's probably likely that you're dealing with the synth vox, although, sometimes, especially with sort of like repurposed, you've done this yourself actually, Sleepwell, with some repurposed droids and creatures, sometimes people kind of use a synth vox because it's cheaper than actually putting in a full, like, vocal, like, capable system. Actually creating something that replicates the timbres of human speech on its own is not easy to do, even today in modern,
So
Esper Genesis technology. So a synth vox is kind of a sort of cheap way of getting a similar effect.
It sounds a little like Gladys from Portal, maybe.
Yeah. Or a
So,
speaking spell.
I kind of
No, just kidding.
I do a
Help
quick
me.
explanation of this, to everybody, but I'm like, all they're saying is help. It sounds like a trap. We could yell out, revealing our position, but getting a bigger sure. I mean, I like to save people. This feels like a trap.
Ooh, I'll try something. I look up. How tall is this building that we're next to?
Which one, on the right or the left?
The one in the direction that the voice is coming from.
Okay, so you have like a small little, almost like smaller building, maybe 2 stories, that's right next to you. And then the building that's on the corner is definitely like 4 or 5 stories at least, and has kind of metal and steel, on the corners and the outside. A lot of the glass has been shattered and broken.
Okay.
And so you can kind of see it lying on the ground. So it's pretty tall. Neither one of the buildings you could see over.
Okay. So you're saying that the one that's right here is like 2 stories?
Right, and the one
And then
here
the
would be
one
much
that's
taller.
here is okay.
Yeah, 4 or 5.
And then the voice is coming from here-ish?
Here, yeah, or here-ish maybe, almost directly behind it, almost.
Okay.
Very faint too.
I unhook a gun from my side.
Okay.
I aim it at the top of the building, and I'd like to use my grapple gun to get on top of the 2-story building.
Ooh, dig it.
Yeah,
All right.
glad I got it.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's the urban warfare portion of Esper Genesis. All right,
Yes.
Yeah.
Time for the
I want it. I
time
wanna
for
see
the Titanfall 2 gameplay.
Yeah. I hear that. Okay, so let me pop up. Okay, equipment. Okay, because I want to see what the grapple gun. Okay, so Bellare Batman here
Yes.
is. Please tell me that before you go up, you say "nice coat." And then you do
Let me see. It can be fired and tethered to a surface. It's a 50-foot long grapple gun, which is not too long, but I think that's 2 stories at least.
Yes. Yep, you can do that. Yep.
And then dexterity check. Ignore strength for climbing checks. Hold up to 2 people.
So let's have you make the dexterity check. Yep.
All right. Okay. And then am I possible? No, I wouldn't be proficient with this. Would I be?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I mean, it's
So
not going to
just-
give you a disadvantage, but you're not.
Yeah.
You know.
Roll and add dexterity. That's it.
Right.
Right. Natural 1.
So, so basically, you're just like, guys, watch this, and you like fire it up, and it just like basically, doink, like rebounds off the wall of the building, and makes this loud, echoey sound that kind of echoes through the city. And Kratos sort of says, "Well done."
It slowly recoils back in the rope.
Right,
Yeah.
like the sort of the recoil of shame.
Yes, yeah. I'm like, yeah, you better be embarrassed about that. Let's try that again, and I try to fire it again.
Okay, go ahead.
I
and
try
make
to
the
do the
check
same
again.
thing.
This is
Okay.
hilarious.
There we go.
Wow.
The opposite.
So this time, jink, and this time it does indeed hook in to the top, right near the top of the roof. And this can hold up to 2 people, so you can head up yourself, and it forgoes any climbing checks because of the benefit of this. But someone else could come up with you also if you wish.
You could take your mini cause with you.
That's what I was thinking. I turn to everyone and I say, anyone want to come up in particular?
Mini cause puts mini cause's hand up.
Somebody needs to cover your back that you can trust. So how about I go with you?
I think that sounds a little more wise. Mini cause will get our time. Don't worry. It's all right.
Mini cause pouts.
Mini cause is displeased. Okay.
Aramis and I, Batman, ascend the building.
Okay. When you get up to the top of the building, and you go over, you can now get a chance to see more of the other side of this, which basically shows, you'll be shocked when you hear this, more buildings.
Whoa.
You
Really?
can't, yes. And I would say actually that you can probably see even to this spot because this is also a 2-story building. This one right here is also a 2-story building, so you can kind of see over that. And as you sort of look over and down, now you're going to need to get to the other side of the roof when you get up there. So are you moving quietly as you do this, like attempting to be silent as you move, or are you just kind of like marching confidently across the roof?
Quietly.
Okay. I'm going to ask both of you to make stealth checks for me, please.
Okay.
You're a bastard.
I'm going to roll. The initial roll will be my regular stealth check, and then I'll roll an additional time since I get advantage on hiding from my quarry, which is constructs and automatons, in the case that any of those are nearby.
Okay.
that those would use the advantage roll.
Okay.
Okay, so first one, or whatever, stealth.
And I'll need you to do a stealth as well, Aramis.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for a second.
Okay.
Okay, so
So you got a...
the first roll was a 20.
Okay.
And then it would be advantage was a 17, so I think that still means just 20.
20
either way.
regardless. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Aramis.
Ooh.
So you make your way across to the roof and or the other side of the roof, and you Kaz, you were like very like stealthily Batman style, and meanwhile Aramis behind you is kind of like wait, clang, bonk. Hold on, I can't see. Where'd you go? And so sort of you get to the other side of the roof. And when you look over the roof quietly down, you see two very familiar looking creatures. And these ones are two creatures that are standing right on the kind of, I shouldn't put them out in the middle of the street. They're really in the alleyway here. They're just sort of kind of standing, almost sort of looking out. And one of them is holding some device from which there is a voice that is emanating from it at regular intervals. Please help me, right? And as they sort of stop and they hear Aramis kind of banging around a little bit, they look back over and stare up at the roof. And you recognize these creatures. They have metallic razors for hands. They have a large metal and jagged tail. Their feet look to be three-toed and sort of regular in origin, Kaz. And these look very, very much like the Scourge Kanasi that you fought previously on the Tangerel. And the two of them see you, and one of them goes zip around the corner. The other one zips directly towards you, leaps up onto the building, its claws in the edge of the building, sort of pulling down, its tail slightly hovering over its head. And that's where we're going to bring the session to a close. Oh my god, I am so excited for Sector 77. I cannot even tell you. It's like urban warfare. Oh man, I love it. It's great. It's great for people to come and see what my city's about. Actually, they can see what Carlos and I.
Yes.
This is actual New York, so this is
exactly.
This is just a Tuesday.
Kanasi or accurate.
you're right.
It's just a Tuesday. You don't
The
want
Subway Scourge Kanasi every time.
Yeah, they always worry about did you get mugged? Like, no, but if you run into a Scourge Kanasi, you're in trouble.
So I gotta ask: is there gonna be like at some point one of them that's just gonna be clinking some bottles and going, "Warriors, come out to play"?
I thought you were going to say, because I'm going to be teaching this next week, that one of them looks at you and starts going, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. I was going to say, like, the whole thing is just West Side Story. Like, man.
I'm okay with that. A
my
combination of
favorite
West Side
musical.
Story and the Warriors.
Oh, man, yeah, no, don't worry, yeah, exactly. But it's going to be awesome. I'm very excited for it. But, so the next time you hear from us, chat, by the way, this session, it may begin with a little bit of dealing with the Kanasi, so we will see. But I'm going to start again. We were not only going to do a 2-hour session a day because we were starting late, and we know that especially Carlos is likely to be exhausted. So I'm going to start with the gentleman all the way to the right, and that of course is Mr. Zach Clay. Good stuff today, Kaz. I really enjoyed your interactions with Sleepwell and with the whole like, am I infected? Am I not infected? Like, I love the sort of semi-deadpan that we get from Kaz all the time, which is part of just because he's such a He's a Bellari,
out. Hold on.
You're roboting out?
Yep.
Oh, wait. I hear you. I don't see you. Try stopping and restarting your webcam, maybe.
Hello?
Oh, there you are.
Nope.
Now you're back. I see you.
Okay. Oh, there. Okay. Hi.
Hi. There we go.
It was like, and now we'll head over to Zach.
That's how I was actually speaking, IRL.
Okay.
No, what I was saying was I really enjoyed your interactions today with Sleepwell and you being like, am I infected? Am I not infected? And kind of the deadpan that we get. Thank you for the resub, Aradinel, at tier 2. My God, thanks, dude. Thank you so much.
That's
man.
awesome.
So much love. Thanks, Aradinel. I really appreciate that, man. So anyway, yes, but I really appreciated that, the sort of cause and how the sort of development of the character, your connection with Sleepwell, I've always found to be an interesting one. So how'd you feel about today and Sector 77, and where will the lovely people see you next?
It's always good to disappear into a bit of sci-fi and lately sci-fi horror.
Indeed.
And yeah, the character development is good. I'm excited for this dungeon crawl and to see what happens in Sector 77. And I don't know, it was great all around. I'm excited to possibly die to some Kanasi or other things. I don't even know what to say. I'm just excited. I always like when we do the dungeon crawl aspects on this because it's always fun.
In this case, we have an urban crawl, right? Like,
yes.
so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And where will the lovely people see you, if not on our lovely channel here?
Mm-hmm. So on this lovely channel here, as most of you know, I'm on Esper Genesis, this very show that you are watching with your eyeballs right now, assuming you have eyes. And then also Our Vocalists, which you can listen to with your ears and watch with your eyes.
And next month, very special session. Remember, next month is Christmas Carol. So yeah.
Oh, I'm ready.
Mm-hmm.
And so that'll be great. And then as far as other places on the internet, I'm still prepping my proper return to my own stream and all that stuff, but you guys will find me inevitably on my own Twitch, which is twitch.tv/ZachClay, and here on this channel. And I'm excited for next time and hope everyone had a wonderful holiday.
Awesome. Thanks again, man. Always a pleasure, and we will see you remotely, hopefully, next Saturday. Moving right along. Again, Carlos, thank you so much for being willing to jump on after being exhausted and all that stuff. I hope that we kept you awake for the time. It certainly seemed like it. I was enjoying watching all the entourage working as well. And and then the shirt was precious. The t-shirt on the rowboat was precious. How'd you feel about today, and where will the lovely people see you next?
I mean, my favorite thing about playing Esper Genesis is that the things that you just never planned on, like, I just never would have planned on like making a t-shirt like that, like, nope. It just emerged, organically. It's just like, that's the sort of stuff.
Now it's canon, like,
exactly.
Yeah.
So, we start the merch, and on the channel now, but, like, to me, it's like, that's what role playing is all about. Those kind of like discovered moments. I think, we're going to get into some pretty cool hot and heavy battle right now, but I just really love the interactions I'm having with all the characters, and so it's just a ton of fun. And so, I my book was the Latinx book of the month for November, and we are doing a Twitch chat to wrap that up tomorrow. And so at 6 p.m. Eastern, I'm going to be answering questions on Twitter just about all aspects of Sal and Gabby Break the Universe. So if you happen to be on Twitter, send me a question. And if you just take a search for Latinx Book Club, you can see what you need to do in terms of hashtags and stuff. So
did you say Twitter or Twitch? Because it sounded like you said Twitch chat. Twitter.
Oh no,
chat?
I said Twitter. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say. I was like, okay, because I was like, well, definitely put a link in. So yes, definitely. Then you should check out the Twitter for sure.
Yeah, and then on Sunday I'm going to be at Books of Wonder here in New York. So if any New Yorkers are out there, you want to see me on Sunday, 1 to 3, I'm giving a presentation with some other great writers out there, and we're going to be talking middle grade fiction.
Good stuff. Thank you very much, Carlos. Well deserved, and we will see you in the flesh, actually, next week, next Saturday. So we'll see you there. I'm looking forward to it. You folks, of course, will also get a chance to hopefully see Cat Rambo should be back with us again. I hope next week. I do have to have to confirm it with her because we didn't have a chance to ask, but this is when PAX Unplugged is, so I hope she's able to do it. But I'll talk to her about that after the stream. She was, again, I believe, away on hanging out with relatives and so forth today, but she'll be back. She, of course, plays Petrosinus on this game, and she was playing Young Turtle on the Hearts of Wulin game, which just wrapped up its first season a couple weeks ago, and, of course, also does the Rambo Academy for Wayward Writers on Twitch, and, of course, is a very fine writer as well in her own right, former president of SIFWA. So you should follow her and check out all those things because all of that is good stuff. So that is, yeah, I don't know if is it that or is it exclamation point Carlos? Hey, Mrs. Dunsell. I don't remember what exactly it is, but we'll figure it out. Anyway, but you should definitely follow and support her on all the things. You should also follow and support on all the things Mr. Johnny Pittman, who was back with us today. It was a great pleasure as always, Johnny, and I have to say, I really liked that. There was just a little moment there, but the moment where, which I think a lot of people were sort of like in chat, everyone was kind of having fun thinking about the little mini-me Aramis thing. And then you said a thing about basically like, I don't want another version of me to remind me of who I am. And everyone's like, like everyone got real serious because it was a moment that was unexpected, but very authentic and real. So I thought you did a nice job covering that. And, you know, obviously there's always some little funny moments, like, for example, wanting to wear the shirt or not. But I really was enjoying that, and so I wanted to give you some kudos on that. How did you feel about today, and where will the lovely people see you next?
Wanting to wear it, like, look, I've got a couple of designs going on Custom Ink after the one that Carlos posted on Twitter. Look, at some point, if I can make it happen, it's happening for next Saturday. We are having a shirt. I don't care if it's a one-off, and then we actually get an official shirt.
In crayon, like on shirt.
It's, you know what? If there's some way that I could remove my head and just wear the shirt, that's exactly what I would do. All right. So that is the plan for next week. So let's be very clear. And you know, it's perfect. That was actually a really perfect moment in respects to just the pure comedy of it. The moment prior to where, you know, the whole exchange between Sleepwell and Aramis, it's moments like that I really enjoy being at this table. We have moments like that a lot, not only between me and Carlos, but there are moments for all of us that are like that. In this particular group, in this particular table, they're poignant, they're harsh, and they're brutal, and they're beautiful, and I really dig it. So thank you Carlos for that part of that experience. Next place you'll probably see me is Monday over on Unmade Gaming's channel, where we're doing our own version of space opera called Blaze of Glory. It's shenanigan-y. We have 5 episodes left, building to our what essentially is going to be our series conclusion, and then doing something new next year. And then you'll see me next Saturday. So at PAX, where it'll be fun.
At PAX Unplugged, where you will see it live and in person. It's going to be great stuff. I totally agree. Co-sign on all of that. Really have been enjoying this campaign a lot, and enjoying all of these wonderful players. And chat, you did a great job today as well. So can we please get some love for Johnny Pittman and Cat Rambo in absentia, but you'll return, and Carlos Hernandez, and of course Zach Clay. Great work, everybody, and see you, British Raj. Thanks for stopping by. Gentlemen, wonderful stuff, and I will see 2 of you in person and 1 of you remotely next Saturday. It's going to be awesome. I cannot wait. Bye
Thank
for
you,
now,
Greg.
you folks.
Yeah,
Always
thank you so much.
Always my pleasure.
Thank you.
Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
All right. Good stuff. So that is going to do it for tonight. That was great. This is one of those things where as I was sort of watching it and reading up on this and preparing for this, I'm just like, this is gonna be good times. Like I was like, I already can tell this is going to be good times. There's going to be some inter-building warfare type of thing, and it's one of those things that you get to sort of see another section of it, like a rundown Blade Runner / Escape from New York kind of crossover, and you finally get a chance to do some of that in a science fiction context, and I think that's really cool. So I'm very excited for that. It's going to be good times. Oh, there it is. Sal Gabby. Thank you, Rock God. Thank you. I knew it was there somewhere. So it's going to be awesome. And I hope you folks will all come along for the ride. We do have one more stream in November, though, and that is happening later on today, Saturday, so starting sometime around 7 p.m. Eastern. I want to wrap up up Neverwinter Nights, Tyrants of the Moonsea, and get that out of the way. I mean, I'm having a great time with it, but I want to finish it so that I can clear the decks for what I'm going to be focusing my December on when I'm not doing tabletop or doing one of the other, Masters of the Dungeon or the Arvocalis or any of that thing, or the Cat Rambo class, and that is Jedi Fallen Order. I'm really in a Star Wars mood as of late. I'm going to be finishing up with my science fiction course to be teaching Star Wars coming next week, and obviously there's the Rise of Skywalker stuff coming up and all that. So I'm in a mood for Star Wars, and I am excited to get in and play some of it. So I'm going to be doing that as soon as we wrap up Tyrants of the Moonsea, which again, I will do that tomorrow, and then we'll be doing that in December. Again, busy December. We have the end of the year show, which is going to be looking at the games of the year, basically in 2019 that came out in 2019, and my game of the year list of games that I played for the first time, whether they came out in 2019 or not. Games I played for the first time in 2019, as I have done in previous years. We'll have my family holiday stream on Christmas. We will have, of course, A Christmas Carol. We will have the Masters of the Dungeon show. We will have the Cat Rambo class. We will also have 2 more Esper Genesis sessions, hopefully 2 more Curse of Strahd sessions. I believe we should be able to do that. And there should be at least 1, if not 2, Emberwind sessions coming up in December as well, plus the Chat Chosen Game of the Month and D&D with viewers, I believe, also. So we got a lot of stuff coming up in December. It should be a good time. And I also want to remind everybody that next Friday, December 6th, I have a big announcement coming up that I need everyone to mark their calendars for and come to see. It's going to be December 6th. It's going to be sometime around, not 100% sure yet, but probably starting sometime around 9 p.m. Eastern. I'll make that announcement later on, but it's going to be a big announcement, and so you will not want to miss that. That's going to be Friday, December 6th, and then Saturday, December 7th will be the live from PAX Esper Genesis session, and then after that, we will move on into the rest of December, which should be a good time. One other note that I want to make too, this coming Tuesday, so Tuesday, December 3rd, I will not be having my normal day streams because I have committee meetings that I cannot get out of and that I need to go to because it's my day job and they pay me and all that. So I do need to go and do that, and that's going to be Tuesday, December 3rd. So I may do a Tuesday evening stream. I have not yet determined if I'm going to do that. I might do a Tuesday evening stream, but I will not have my normal during the day December the 3rd stream or during like 12 o'clock to 3 o'clock, nor will I have my Pen and Pixels show from 4 to 7 p.m. on Tuesday because, again, I'm going to be doing committee stuff. Possibly Tuesday evening, but no promises about that as of yet. Otherwise, everything else should be pretty much in place. As I said, Friday, big announcement, plus hopefully moving into Jedi Fallen Order, and then Saturday will be the live from PAX Esper Genesis event, but big announcement coming up on Friday the 6th, so you will not want to miss that. It's going to be good times. That, however, is going to do it for me for tonight. And I am going to double check and see who we're going to raid for today. For this is today of the things with the stuff. Let's see. Let's see. I think we've got, okay. I think I know who it's going to be then. All right, I know who we're going to raid. So the way that we do raids here is very simple. If you are not a sub, you're going to do the Arvanauts Have Landed, followed by Twitch raid. That's lowercase Twitch, uppercase R, lowercase AID. If you are a sub, you're going to do the Arvanauts Have Landed, followed by Arvane Hype, ARVANE, all lowercase, uppercase H, lowercase YPE. And you can do that when you get automatically transformed, or transferred, I should say, and transformed, over to the channel that we're going to be raiding, which I will let you folks know about in just a second when we head over there. Otherwise, I want to remind everybody about ways to support the channel. If you didn't do so already, please follow the channel. Check out the YouTube with exclamation point ArvTube, the Discord with exclamation point ArvCord, the Twitter with exclamation point ArvTweets. Please sub to me and or follow me in all those places. And you can check all of that out as well as the schedule at arvaneleron.com, my website for this channel. You can also, on the financial side, support me by checking out the shop, exclamation point Arv Shop. Right now, there is Adventures of Middle-earth stuff with Terry Toons illustrations. There is Curse of Strahd I should say Infinity and Beyond stuff at the moment, which helps support the channel, and hopefully Esper Genesis stuff coming over there as well, including, for example, this Crucible Core type shirt and things like that. Exclamation point Arvtreon is right there. That's the Patreon, currently sitting at 302. And again, would love to see that go higher because I get not as much a proportion of that. So any more that we can do to support that so that I can start adding things back in like the Talisman Tournament and the Arvanite Idol contest that I'd like to do again, and all that can help if we support the Patreon. And of course, we've got the sub system, which is very simple. You can subscribe to the channel in the way that many of you subbed or resubbed today. So you can get those custom sub badges, you can get those custom sub emotes and all of that stuff, which is great, and also allows you to kind of show your support and love for this channel as well, which is always, of course, very much appreciated. But I want to thank everyone for being here. You're all lovely, lovely people. Thank you to my wonderful mods, Aridinel, Coven Guy. Thank you to Rock God, and thank you to Dragon Spear. Thank you as well to all of my subs as well, Aridinel, Coven Guy, Rock God, and of course, Nonstop and Mrs. Dunsel. I also want to thank those of you who have supported the Patreon in that group that show up there. Thank you as well to my wonderful and lovely viewers. Thank you to Aiton. Thank you to Brahms, who also subbed to me, resubbed, so I don't know why he wasn't listed there, but thank you, Brahms. Thank you to Commander Root. Thank you to Feet, to Jagtress Lurks, Moobot, Poltergeist Zero, U Christensen, V&K, Video Store Cowboy, Virgo Praz, and Windsock. Thank you all, and a special thanks to my wonderful players tonight, to Johnny Pittman, to Carlos Hernandez, and to Zach Clay for great work, and I can't wait to continue this campaign and continue playing with them next weekend. Otherwise, I want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving, and I will see all of you lovely people Saturday for the conclusion of Neverwinter Nights, Tyrants of the Moonsea. Until then, everyone be good to each other, and I will see you all soon. Have a good one.
When I was a child, I talked like a child. I thought like a child. I reasoned like a child. When I grew older, I set aside childish ways. Corinthians 13:11. In the distant future, mankind has spread into the stars and found it is not alone. Within the cluster of planets known as the Silrain Arc, many races strive for survival or supremacy. But throughout this array of planets, societies, and cultures, each has one thing in common: the Crucibles. Scattered throughout the galaxy, each moon-sized structure contains a core of raw Saurian, a form of mysterious energy used to power ships, cities, and sometimes the warping of the fabric of reality itself. Beings who can do this have been given a name: Espers. The power of God has been granted to God's children. It is a time of terror. It is a time of wonder. It is the time of Esper Genesis.